evening. So I don't know if too many people will be joining in on the live. I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with it, but I figured since I was gonna be watching a bunch of screens anyway, I would do it, and then I just putter around a little bit, look at some auctions, and then hang out a little bit with it. I did send an invite to the usual suspects, so we'll see how that ends up going. But checking out and doing a little bit of a live, doing a little watch along for the Ravens Bills game, which should be an interesting one to finish up the Sunday. We'll see how it goes. There you go. I like it, Dom. I like it. Same vein, actually, since Dom's there, that'll remind me. Same vein, no specific pressure for anybody, but if anyone who is kind of watching the game anyway wants to kind of join in and just putter, most of the time we're just looking at the game. Now, this time around, I did do the smart thing. I actually put the screen in front of me. So now I'm actually looking at it. I'm kind of looking at you, but I'm also looking at the screen, so I'm kind of looking at you. So still a couple of minutes before we get going. We'll see what happens. Says we can still hit the like for Eric, always. Every single time and always. Eric is off hiding. Because if he shows his face, I have a little something prepared for him. I'm going to show it now, but if he shows his face, it'll appear again. I'm going to have a little bit of fun, especially since Zach is here and Dom is here. So same vein, like I said, if any of the folks who have been on before want to pop in and at least hang out for a little bit, you're more than welcome to. We kind of just watch the game, chit-chat a little bit. It's like people are sitting in a room BSing while the game is going on. So that's basically what I like to do with these watch-alongs. That's kind of the deal. So feel free to throw some in there, and we'll have a little bit of fun with that. Now, I have to play this. I'm duty-bound to make sure we give the scholarship and the info. And I give constant advice, and my advice is never listen to any of Eric's picks because sometimes it doesn't work out. But this one, I love it. So here, Washington, Detroit. Does Detroit burn the ruins, or do they win another week and burn the ruins?
Detroit's going to the Super Bowl.
A few moments later.
3rd and 10. Four-man rush. It's Goff throwing over the middle, and it's picked off. Jeremy Chin. And Washington will be going to the NFC Championship for the first time in 33 years.
Yep. He's actually 2 for 2. My favorite part about that is that he's 2 for 2 and basically screwing the Lions over. He showed up and he gave a prediction at halftime last year when the Lions game was on, and then immediately the whole thing turned on him. It was hysterically funny. But cursed. This man is cursed. And Spicy Eye, our friend Billy, who is a Detroit sports fan, a Lions fan, was not a happy camper. It's like he should have realized that the hex of Eric was put on him. And it's hard to defeat the hex of Eric. I don't know if it's possible. The hex of Eric might be undefeated. As soon as he said those words, he went all the way of putting them in the Super Bowl. He skipped ahead. He skipped ahead multiple wins. And as soon as he did that, I was like, oh my God, why would you do this? What did Detroit do to you? That's the question that I have. That's what I was left with. But as soon as that game turned out that way, I'm not saying I immediately pulled the clip and started putting that together, but I immediately pulled the clip and started putting that together. I knew it was coming. Y'all knew it was coming as soon as Detroit was bounced, especially bounced in the first round there. Well, obviously with the bye, but their first game on the playoffs. Not so great. The NFC North did not perform well this year. 0 for 3. I love the behind the scenes. The eye-lines are so important. Yes, very true. Jaden Daniels is him, but the Eric curse definitely helps. Yes. But yep, 2 for 2. 2 years in a row, Eric has personally seen to it that Detroit has bounced from the playoffs, which is... why don't we put money on the... Look, I keep telling you guys, you might want to fade Eric's picks. You just want to fade his picks. It might be the move. Especially, I will say, when Detroit was favored in that game comfortably, I would say. I don't remember what the line was, but Detroit was favored comfortably. It's like, I would have probably just taken the points, and obviously you would have won. But if you'd gone outright, that would have been a pretty good payout, I think. I'm not sure what the odds were at the time. I didn't look too closely, but yeah. Definitely fade Eric's picks, especially when it goes out on a limb and goes out of his way to be like, Detroit's going to the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh no. Yikes. As soon as I man up and put money up, he'd go on a hot streak. Well, he did follow up the 1 year where in the NHL playoffs, he actually got every single pick wrong in basically every round, which is actually mathematically almost impossible. Like, it's just as difficult as it is to get everything right every single round, every single game. It's almost as difficult to get every single one wrong. But you literally would have made tons of money if you had just faded his picks the entire Stanley Cup playoffs. Last year, he did a little bit better because he actually got a couple right. But yeah, it was a remarkable performance by him. But 2 years in a row, personally dooming the Lions, man, there might be a little bit of a little internal war going on. You know, if I'm the people of Detroit, I got a serious problem with Bougie Eric's picks. But yes, so the like button is valid. It is there for everybody to enjoy. You're more than welcome to use it. And Eric, as always, does pay. But yes, but like I said, feel free to throw some stuff in the chat. I'm going to interact with you a little bit. And like I said, Dom and anybody else who has been on here before, if you do want to pop on and BS a little bit, you're welcome to it. I can send you a link. But otherwise, hang out and chill. And feel free to throw some stuff in the comments. And we're just going to watch the game and hang out a little bit. I may also do a little bit of watching along also kind of on the side, because I'm going to look and see if anything interesting comes up. So curious, since I'll bring it up, where are you watching? Watching at home, watching with some friends, watching on the TV, watching on the screen. I like to watch it on my screens here, personally. That's always what I do anyway, because I can go on the internet and do other things. I kind of multitask when I'm watching a lot of these games now, honestly. So that's kind of my deal. But nonetheless. Yes, good evening, Jeff. Jeff, I don't know if you saw it. So, of course, condolences. Condolences on the Lions. But I don't know if you realize this. I'm going to play it one more time, and I'm not going to play it again for a while. But you do realize that Eric is the one who personally doomed you. I don't mean to alarm you, but Eric, I think, is responsible for this. And I have the video proof. I'll show it one more time, and then we won't touch it again until if Eric has the guts to show his face. We'll see. Washington, Detroit. Does Detroit burn the ruins? Or do they win another week and burn the ruins?
Detroit's going to the Super Bowl.
A few moments later.
3rd and 10. 4-man rush. It's Goff throwing over the middle, and it's picked off Jeremy Chin. And Washington will be going to the NFC Championship for the first time in 33 years.
You might have to have. So that's right, Jeff. 2 years in a row. Listen, you and anybody else who's a Detroit supporter might have to have words with Bougie Eric. There might need to be an intervention, some kind of an issue, because he's doomed you. Like I said, I'm starting to think it's intentional. I was only asking for the pick for the one game. That's all I was asking for. I didn't ask for they're going all the way to the Super Bowl. That he did that all on his own. Good evening, name. So nonetheless, yes, 2 years in a row. It is. I was actually, as I was watching the game, I was like, oh no, if Washington wins this, I'm duty bound. I've got to do it. I don't have a choice. Sometimes that's where the playoffs are very interesting. You never know what's going to happen. You have no idea. It's one of that is literally, cliche or not, that's why you play the games. And yep, turned out that way. So unfortunately, my condolences, Jeff. It is still a good team, but I will say, I was surprised at kind of the way that game turned out. I don't think, even with the deficiencies, I don't think anybody thought that they would give up, was it 45 points? I don't think you had that one. You could have taken the major over. So you had the upset and the over on that one. I think defense was banned in that game. But yeah, usually you're not expecting to try to hold a team down to, well, we got to score 46 to win. That's a tough way to try to win a game. They are who we thought they were. So it would seem. It's a tough one, name. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see on that one. So I was going to ask, so in terms of you folks, so if you're watching the games wherever you are, what kind of setup you usually have? You just kind of sit at the couch and hang out with some folks, watch it yourself? What's the deal when you guys are watching the game? Like I said, I kind of like sitting in my office. I'll usually put on another screen and just kind of do some other stuff on the other screen while I'm doing it. I like to multitask. The problem is I can't fixate my attention on the one thing at a time anymore. It's a bad habit. Maybe it's a little OCD developing. ADHD. Just developing a little bit. I can't focus and fixate on just the one thing at this point. I like watching the game, but I don't need to stare at the whole way through, especially if it's just teams that I'm watching in a more neutral third party. So I don't know, name. You're wrangling your 47 kids and then trying to occasionally get peeks at the screen. Is that the deal for you? So I don't know. Curious what kind of setup you folks have when you're watching these games. Also, any thoughts on the first game? So Philadelphia looks like they advanced, beat LA, and so they'll be moving on to the NFC Championship. So we'll have to see basically how that one plays out, but should be interesting, I think. We'll have to see how that one goes. And then once we get the thing going on here, I'll put the score and a little bit of the breakdown on it. Game hasn't started yet, so we'll get to it here in the next couple of minutes probably. I do think the time between the time the broadcast starts and when they finally get to kickoff is a little bit ridiculous. Also, any thoughts? I'm curious. Any thoughts on the amount of complaining about KC advancing? Because it's gonna be fun. I enjoy having a good villain, and they definitely qualify. Yep, I know, Paul. Listen, I think he's ducking us. He made a horrifically bad Detroit pick that I think screwed them over. So I think he's ducking everybody. And let me know, Paul. I know you're kind of hanging out doing your thing, but let me know if you want to do any BSing or trash talking on the camera. But you let me know if you're Tim Hortons. Sorry, in this case for you, your McDonald's internet holds up. You're probably off in the dungeon somewhere, but just throwing it out there. And I'll probably be looking at some auctions and stuff while we're chatting a little bit. But yeah, it's just mostly us chatting and hanging out a little bit. I'll put a score and whatever's going on here. I'll put it on the screen at some point, and then yeah, we can just kind of keep an eye on it and we'll see. Uh, by the way, anybody in the chat, I know some of you already did anyway. Predictions? Just out of curiosity. Curious if you have any predictions for the game. You can predict pain if you want. That's a valid prediction. So it works out. Have to try and focus. I can start watching a game and playing on my phone. By the fourth quarter, didn't realize I missed much. I'm usually pretty good. I'll be honest. I'm usually pretty good with it because I can kind of be listening. In this case, I'll listen because there's a lot of downtime between plays. Football's good for that, though. I'll be honest. It's helpful because you've got downtime between play. You don't need to be staring at the players setting up the line, setting up the play, unless you're really that into it. It's really up to you. But it's one of those things where I can enjoy the game, watch the key plays. I don't miss anything really significant. So we definitely got that. And that's one of those things that it's your mileage may vary. I think everybody's a little different that way. I can kind of be doing a couple things at once. So Paul, I sent you a link in the Discord if you want one. So you're welcome to it. Yeah, -20 wind chill. Yeah, that's definitely a great indoors kind of game. Name's got the right idea. Pain. That's right. That's a proper prediction. Appreciate that. Anyone else want to chime in? I actually think I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping this is going to be the good game. This is the one I want to be the good game. I want this to be a little bit entertaining. I want to see Buffalo play well. I want to see Baltimore play well. I actually want to see the best team win here. Whatever it is, I don't care. I don't have a horse in this race. Obviously, I know Brandon Bobbles, and he's the Baltimore fan. But I have no qualms with the Bills. No personal issues with them. If they win, good for them. Because I want to see the better of these two teams, whichever one it is, go and play Kansas City. Because I want Kansas City to have a proper challenge in the AFC Championship. So for me, it's like you two fight it out. Whoever's the better one, I want to see you in the AFC Championship taking on the Chiefs. And then if the Chiefs can beat that team, well, fine, good for you. But earn it. I want to actually see them play the best competition possible to earn it to get to the Super Bowl. So we'll see. Jeff Scott, 28-24 Buffalo. That would be a good game. I would accept that. That'd be good. Zach says, I watch sports on mute. I hear you. It's a problem commentators annoy. So for the most part, I do the same. I do watch it on mute most of the time. In this case, obviously, I'll if I'm chatting with anybody here, I'll be listening to them instead of it. But I'm saying for the most part, I can kind of dart my eyes. Also, it helps that I do a lot of these live stream things. So I'm using multiple screens anyway. I can be watching this, watching that, watching the comments. And my eyes are used to shifting back and forth between multiple things. So I get you. And the commentators are pretty bad on a lot of these games. They're pretty awful. So you just got to play it by ear. You work with it. Let's see here. But yes, I agree with your statement, Zach. I am in agreement with that. So actually, quick thing. I did a quick video recap, high-level recap. I went to the Saturday at a card show here in the same venue that they do the Toronto Expo. They call it the CSC Fan Con. And I did touch on it briefly. I did grab some stuff, so I had a little bit of fun with that. But I'll add a little bit more to what I said on that one since we've got a little time here. 41-38 Buffalo. I like it. Fair enough. Folding laundry for 47 kids and have the game on TV in bedroom. Valid. I like that. I'll watch the first quarter here, then jump on. Go for it, man. Sounds good. We'll hang out. For the most part, we're just hanging out, chilling today. Went back today to show. Ooh, Bobby. So then, okay. So how was it? Did you actually see any, just going in there chat with folks? I think Brad was going back in the morning, potentially to talk about some deals, but also to network. It was mostly a networking thing. I got to be honest. For a lot of it, that was the value. So I mentioned that in my video. The value was the networking thing. I did find a couple of things, like I talked about it. I got a hobby box, XFL. So I will open this up on the channel. That will be a video. I got a kick out of this. 2001 Topps XFL. We can find our He Hate Me, Tommy Maddox. Let's go. So this is actually unintentionally, I think this is going to be my favorite pickup of the show. I did also get a box of the Black Diamond AEW. I did record the video and put that on the wrestling card channel. It might actually be worse than the first box I opened. It might actually be worse than the first box I opened, which says something. Because the first box was brutal. but the second one might be worse. So if you're interested, you can check that out. The link is in the description of that channel. Good evening, Orlando. Didn't see Brad. I was there until 12:30. Okay. Went back to talk to some guys. Got in free. Well, if you got in free, I think that's solid. I just don't think it's worth it was worth it from the perspective of I wanted to check it out. It was worth it from the perspective of we actually, since it wasn't super busy, and this was kind of, I alluded to it in the video, because it wasn't super busy, we were able to have more time to chat. I was able to chat with Brad and Sherry and Bobby as well, Steve, and it allowed a little more time for conversation because we were able to kind of stand around a little bit and chat. And the crowd wasn't crazy. I think there were more people that moved to the back, and that's kind of my takeaway. My takeaway is I didn't mind the concept. I like their ambition, but the problem is you're trying to do like almost like a Comic-Con, anime, TCG, all this stuff, which by the way, you could be very successful at because there is a big audience for that. But then you've got that kind of in the back end in one hall. And then on the front end, you're kind of doing a sports card show, but what you end up with is kind of a mediocre sports card show. And that isn't to say there weren't good dealers. There are some dealers that had some good stuff, but because you didn't have enough variety of dealers, a lot of the stuff is the stuff you expect to see. On a lot of the tables, I see Young Guns. I see Future Watch Autos. If you want the other sports, well, I've got some Vladdy Jr. stuff, a little bit of baseball. One dealer had a nice box that had some baseball in it. I saw some Joe Carter cards, some good Blue Jays autographs and stuff. It was interesting, but it's stuff I can see at other shows. It's nothing that really stood out that was like, oh my God, I had to make the show. And then you've got a $40 entry fee for the one day. So $40 entry fee is really high for a card show. But for a anime show or for a Comic-Con or whatever, it's not. That's pretty standard, or maybe even low for some of those. But for the $40, you're not getting anything special. So you're getting kind of like a mediocre card show attached with like an anime show, and it's like it's not enough of either one of those things to make it worthwhile, especially at the price of the ticket. But again, it worked out because since Brad and Sherry and all those folks were down there, and Luke as well, like I said, that's the reason I was down there in the first place. We had plenty of time to talk, so from that perspective, it still worked out. I was able to have some fun. The XFL box was a pleasant surprise. The AEW thing was just, I happened to be there and got it. Helped Brad make a deal on a card. I was able to help out with that. So I'll share that story on Friday. I'll do that a little later. But he was able to pick up something nice for himself. Had a little fun with it. So from that perspective, it was good. And the networking part of it was good. So it was worth it for that perspective. But everything else was like, yeah. And then from there, I went over to the hotel nearby. It's similar to the expo. Went to the hotel nearby, got a burger, had a couple of beers, and watched the end of the Kansas City game. And then basically I took off from there. And by the time the late game was on, I was back at the house. So from that perspective, it wasn't too bad. So Bobby's saying smaller crowd today. It was already not exactly a huge crowd on Saturday. Sports guys actually did well, all things considered. I think because you didn't have too much competition. I think if you had decent stuff, look, people were willing to make deals. So I don't want to misrepresent it and say that there was nothing there that you could buy or sell. People were willing to make deals. And if you had decent stuff, you could sell stuff. Like I saw a couple of cards that were interesting enough, but it's one of those things where I wasn't necessarily looking for it at that moment. But if I had been more open-ended to just buying certain things, I could have probably walked away with a couple of $100 worth of cards, some purchases here and there. But it just wasn't anything I was looking for particularly. Like I said, the XFL box was an accident. The AW thing was just I was able to get a little discount on it. I negotiated discounts, so the guy gave it to me. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll take it. I figure I'll open the boxes and have some fun. So whatever. I saw a Gordie Howe autograph on one of the early Parkhurst when they did the Parkies sets that never existed. There was the tall boy version of it. This was the 94, I want to say. So they actually had, I'll see if I can find a picture on eBay of an example of it. But they did their own version of the tall boy because Parkhurst never had a tall boy. It was Topps cards that had tall boys. Missing link. Thank you. Thank you, Bobby. That's what I'm looking for. So there was two. There was one that was supposed to be the 57 set, I believe. And there's another one that was a 60 set that was supposed to represent a Parkhurst version of tall boys. And in that one, they had autographs as well. So you could get a Gordie Howe on-card autograph. Well, somebody had one at one of the booths. And I was looking at it, and I thought it was interesting. I like those, to be honest. I'm a fan. And it was a very early autograph that you could get for that product. And an early, mid-90s Gordie Howe autograph, which is nice, on card as well. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So it's one of those things like there's stuff there. You got to look around a little bit. But if you're willing to take a little extra time and look around, it was all right. But it wasn't enough card show. I think, for the card show people. And I'm not sure if it was enough of the other stuff for the folks looking for that other piece, even though there's seminars and all that for those folks as well. Even got the Holden 84 Star Jordan. Goated card. Good evening, Paul. Zach says, I thought Dallas was just as busy as ever. I wouldn't surprise me. I would see no reason why not. The market might be down from the pandemic highs, but I don't think attendance is down at all. So on all regular card shows that I've gone to, this one is a little bit unique because, like I said, since they were trying to do two things at once, the entry fee was so high for me. For sports card folk, I think the entry fee was too high. But for the other type of show, it makes sense. So you were in this weird middle ground. You were trying to draw this line. And also, I bear in mind that the International Center costs more to run a show there. So I kind of understand it because it increased the cost. And they used two halls, so they were able to use that reasonably effectively. They had a stage area and everything back there, but I don't know. It was a little weird the way they had to try to measure that line. But the other one was that because they did it that way, it left a lot of extra expenses for the folks involved. So the entry fee was more expensive, and I believe it was Hit 'em High Sports Cards. One of the dealers there was kind of complaining. Again, I'll take him at face value because he posts stuff on social media all the time. But I think he was talking about he had like an end cap table setup, and he said it was $1,400. That's pretty high. You're hoping for pretty good traffic in order to justify paying that much for kind of an end table or end of row or whatever. And to be honest, I didn't really see. I knew it was around. Like I didn't go row by row, line by line. I was looking at certain things and kind of hanging out and chatting. But yeah, that's the one stuck in the back corner. Yeah, and apparently he paid pretty good money for it. So, ooh, rough. 5657. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you, Bobby. Was never issued by Topps and Parker, so they called it the missing link. That was the one. And I actually like those. I thought the cards were very clean. It was a very basic design because they were trying to get the same vibe as the time period for Parker, so they weren't trying to reinvent the wheel over there. I thought it was interesting when they did that. Let's see here. Zach says it was cold outside. That probably helps drive attendance to a degree. It's Canada though. Like we have the expo in November, and some years that's actually been very cold. If you have to stand outside for an hour, then yeah, it might affect it. But for the most part, like we'll get used to it. This past weekend, Bobby, and you can attest to this. I don't think it wasn't warm, but it wasn't super cold that it was problematic. To be honest, when I was driving in, I used an Uber to come in there, and the guy couldn't figure out where to actually park, so I ended up just walking like 5 minutes to get back to the front door. That's why it took me an extra minute to get there. It was weird. I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, it wasn't too bad, especially if you got there even early afternoon. It wasn't bad. In the evening, obviously, when the sun goes down, it gets colder, but it wasn't ridiculous. It was definitely chilly, but it wasn't horrible. Cece says, good evening. Was the car dealers there today basically the same dealers as the expo? No, you got a fraction. You did get some. You got some. I think it's closer to some of these CSC shows because the CSC shows have developed their own little. You got a lot of Ontario representation. You're not getting the folks from a couple of provinces over. The expo, you're getting folks coming from Alberta. You're getting folks coming from BC. You're getting folks coming from the rest of the country. You know, the Maritimes on the other side. None of those folks are coming. You'll get the Ontario dealers. And I think Slugger's 55. He's one who does a lot of stuff with CSC. He's there. And he's got some nice inventory. He's got high-end stuff, but it's priced accordingly. So it's one of those things where if that's what you're looking for, he's got it. But some of these other guys are not so. It's not that wild. I would say the selection of dealers. If you've been to the CSC shows the last couple of years, basically you're looking at that, and even then it felt a little scaled down compared to that. For the 90s, I really like those sets. The signed ones are very nice. Yeah, those are the ones. I agree. Even though Eric isn't here, he has to pay for the like button. Correct. 100% correct. Talking about Dallas. Okay. Well, I don't know. What was the temperature in Dallas? Yep. The Uber. That's right. So yeah, I was able to take advantage of that, and then we actually took an Uber. So Sherry picked up an Uber to go back to their hotel, and they were able to go. And Brad had to do some more meetings and stuff, and he went to do that. But then I went over to the bar. They've got a good bar kind of restaurant set up there. We were there, Bobby. It was the Element, that one. So pretty good service. I was able to get my food and my drink, and I was able to watch the game. So it was a good spot, and I knew it would be solid if once they told me that's where they were staying. I was like, perfect. I know that restaurant already. I'll make my order and I'll be all set. I just wanted to get a bite to eat before I headed back. Worked out pretty good. Now let's see here. Yeah, it's actually pretty solid. I'm pretty happy. To me, it's a good spot if you don't have any set plans. It's perfect. Just sit down, have your drink, have your food, whatever it is. They got some TVs around. You can watch the game if there's a game on, like in this case. So it's a good solid spot just to hang out a little bit. All right. So now it looks like we're finally approaching game time here. It doesn't look too snowy there based on looking at this broadcast. So we'll see. I guess we'll have to see what it goes. But I can see the guy's breath. Their weather is going to be very similar to what we got here. So it'll definitely be chilly for those folks. We'll see how it ends up going. So anyone else want to take a stab at predictions? We got a few here that we had earlier. Anyone else want to take a shot at where they think this one's going to go? Like I said, I'm just hoping this will be one of the better games, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so let's see here if I can get this to work. My next trick will also be finding out how much of a delay we get in terms of the action. Because there's always a little bit of a time delay between the streaming and television, but it's always interesting to see what the difference is on that one. Let's see here. Bobby's got Buffalo 23, Baltimore 21. That's plausible. I could see it. Not a bad call. So a lot of folks seem to have these teams in the 20s. We'll have to see how that one ends up working out. All right, let me make an adjustment here on the fly. We'll do that. Ravens are the betting favorites. A bit surprising the Bills are no favorite. Yeah, especially with the Bills being at home. I did notice that. It was a little odd to me that they would go that route. But nonetheless, I guess we'll have to see. They're giving the Ravens credit. There's a really good likelihood. I don't know. I don't think we've got the final results on that yet. Here's my question. I think Lamar is seen as potentially the favorite to win his third MVP. So do you think that Josh Allen did enough to maybe take a couple of votes away and actually steal one there? Or does Lamar get the third MVP? In which case, then he goes into that weird category by himself. He becomes the first guy to have 3 MVPs who hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl yet. He could change that this year, but that's kind of what it becomes. Now he's suddenly got to do that in order to justify like all those MVPs and no Super Bowl appearances with pretty good teams. That was a pretty bad drop there. So right now, I'll get kind of a time check. I'm curious. Obviously, there's a delay in the stream. So right now, I've got 12:47 left in the first, with Baltimore trying to drive and Derrick Henry having just dropped a ball. So I don't know if you folks are a little bit behind me or a little bit ahead of me. I'd be kind of curious because it's always interesting in these watch-alongs to see like, what time zone are you in? Are you already seeing the future or are you stuck in the past? Okay, so let's see here. Let's see if I can do something. I'm going to give it a shot. That's a good pass. All right, let's see. Close a couple of these tabs. There's way too many tabs open now. All right, let's go with this. Close this tab. Close this tab. Scold, so not many passes. Going to be a low-scoring running game. Well, we'll see. I think it's strategically, it makes sense for them to try to keep it low percentage. I think the fact that the wind doesn't seem to be howling nearly as badly. Like in Buffalo, it can get cold. I've been to my share of games in Buffalo when it gets real chilly. Right now, it doesn't look too bad, but I've definitely seen worse. But if the wind starts picking up, then Baltimore has the running game. They got Derrick Henry. He can manage. What's the over-under the number of rouges for this game? That's a valid question. I like where your head's at. I like it. You're asking the important questions, Name. Asking the important questions. Yeah, even the field looks pretty decent. Like, obviously, it's got a little bit of sprinkling of snow on it. That's not too bad. I guess it depends on how the footing is going to be. That's going to, I think, control some of it. Because if the receivers can get a little bit of clearance, Lamar could throw a couple balls in there. There's no reason they can't complete some passes, at least early at the moment. Unless the weather starts getting worse, then that can change. But right now, I don't think it's going to limit the passing game necessarily. They're still going to lean on the run, but I don't see them stopping the passing game just because of the current conditions. Yeah, exactly. I was looking at Philly earlier, so I was like, I don't think it's too bad, especially compared to that one. Okay, let's see. Can I get this open up for me? Let's see if I can do it this way. There we go. That'll work. So for now, I'll go this route. We'll try it this way. There we go. I'll just put myself in the corner. I put myself in the corner. That way I can still see the game over here. And at least it's got something going on the screen other than me. So that works. Then if I had to do any other screen shares or anything later on, I can do that as well. That'll work. Ah, is name ahead of me? We're going to find out now. I'll be curious. I like it. Feel free. Do what you got to do. Alrighty. Let's see here. Yeah, I was going to say, buddy. All right, let me see here. There we go. I just needed to fix it up. Yeah, no worries. I just need to fix it up a little bit. Let's see, is this one here need a little updating? There we go. Now it's working. I'll have to see if I can keep it refreshed. I realized that I actually wanted to, I've got the feed, basically the TSN feed here, but the TSN changed its website. And basically what happened is as soon as I go into it, it actually will show me the game, but then it'll also show me the, it'll actually show the game underneath because I have the television package. So because of that, I can be watching the game with it, and I can't put the game on the screen because that would be verboten. Yeah, let me see. Maybe I'll just use ESPN's site because that way at least I don't have anything ESPN, so I can probably just put the score on the screen that way. It'd probably make more sense. Gamecast. Does this work? I don't want clips. That's the other problem, by the way. A lot of these websites, they immediately start playing videos of stuff. And it's like, dude, I don't want videos. I just want you to put the score on it so I can have that on the screen. That's it. I don't need the rest of it. Terrible. We'll see, Bobby. We'll see. Still early on. We'll see what happens. All right, let me see if I can do this. See if I can do this without running ads on me. There we go. Oh, that's actually good. That actually lets me switch the tab easy. I like that. Nice. Nice. See how it goes here. Zoom in a little bit on that. There we go. That's better. That'll work. Let's see if Buffalo will do. Buffalo does best today. Choke and continue the losing ways in the playoffs. Dang. Harsh. Well, it's history, unfortunately, for them. That's kind of why it'll be funny for me. I was like, the Women's Master Curling Championships is on. Hard to watch both. Sounds like an Eric situation. There's probably some cyclocross somewhere. Eric always says he's watching these football games with his mom. I don't know. I bet you he's watching some cyclocross. He's probably watching a cyclocross replay. There's probably a cyclocross event from 2021, and he's watching it on replay. Gotta be kind of tough. Let's see here. You're not welcome. Cyclocross can be on at all times, Eric. We've got the streaming technology. We've got the replay technology. You could put it on your Betamax and watch as many times as you want. Don't lie to the people. See? He's too lazy to show up on the screen, but he's hiding under this guise of watching it with his mom. We know what's going on. We know what's happening here, man. Good evening, Kathy. So we'll see how it goes here. It goes without saying, but there's way too many commercials. So let's see. Based on, I can also kind of scan the stats here on this end. Let's see. So Lamar was 3 for 4 for 60 yards on the first drive. 9 yards rushing, so not too bad at all. We'll see if Derrick Henry gets going. He hasn't really done too much in terms of running yet, but it's first drive, so let's see. Yeah, we'll see what Buffalo has in store. We're gonna need to see them show us something. Do you get CBS, Fox, and NBC in Canada? All three channels are on there, but it's whoever has the rights. So to make an overly complicated story short, there are networks here who have the rights to the NFL. And what happens is generally you can watch CBS, you can watch Fox, you can watch NBC, but what you're watching is basically a simulcast. They basically put like a simulcast on there. You still get the regular feed. Like right now, I'm on TSN. But the broadcast that I'm watching is the same broadcast, the same CBS broadcast that you're watching. I could put on NBC or whatever it's up, but I'm not getting any different broadcast. They literally just play the same broadcast, but they put it on multiple networks. You're going to milk Lamar versus Allen playoffs for commercial money? I know. It's wild. We got ABC and PBS too. Truth. Which team would be tougher for the Chiefs, Ravens or Bills? I would say the Ravens for no other reason than Lamar can do some things with his legs. He can make some passes. Josh Allen can make some passes as well. But the two-sided thing with Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry's playing well and Lamar's playing well and he can take off and run or make a pass, and you can have Derrick Henry to basically just run the ball. Ball control, I think the Ravens would give them a little bit more fits potentially, because the Ravens would probably be better situated to be able to do the ball control, time of possession control, that kind of style, which could cause some problems for Kansas City. In theory. Again, I put that in quotation marks. In theory. If they don't, if he starts throwing the ball all over, loses a little bit of his control, doesn't go exactly where he's supposed to be going, then it won't matter. If the team's Kansas City thing right now is that they're good if the other team makes mistakes and they minimize theirs. If Baltimore is playing on all cylinders, I like their chances. Buffalo can give them some trouble too, but it's just, I think Baltimore is more complete as a team. So probably would give them a tougher path. But it's Kansas City's beaten both of those teams, so it's not like they can. See what's going on here. Well played. Well played, Bobby. Well played. Now I'm kind of curious, though. I'm actually surprised that Yannick didn't show up. I don't know what he's up to. Maybe he's watching Cyclocross, too. We'll have to see. See, Brandon, I know. If he's smart, he's probably in darkness. He's hiding right now. He's hanging out with Aaron Rodgers in the darkness. I can't blame him for that. That's valid. I think that's fair. Well, somebody's got to watch. Curling actually does decent numbers. It's wild. It's kind of hilarious. Yannick is watching Cyclocross. Eric is watching Psychocross. I like it. Probably not wrong. Probably not wrong. Tonight is going to be fun, though. I like the amount of different live streams that are going to be playing. I think it's going to be a lot of hilarious fun there. There you go. We're doing our own watch party on another channel watching Cyclocross. I knew it. I knew it. It's women's curling. Say no more. He's probably right. It's pretty wild. I actually realized indirectly. I completely forgot it. For some reason, I didn't bother to check. I made a total rookie mistake earlier. I realized that I had consumed all my beer, and I was like, "Damn it!" And I was like, I'm not going out to go get more right now. Not today. I was feeling the great indoors today, so I wasn't gonna make it happen. So I'll be back. I'll have it for Friday. We will be restocked. We will not allow that. We can't have a Friday live stream. I gotta have my beer in hand, but today not so much. I'll have to make do with my Coca-Cola. Uber Eats some beer. Yeah, I could. That's true. That is valid. I don't know. So name, the thing is, I actually think the LCBO and a lot of the other ones are already closed for today. I don't know. Do they even have the ability to do it? Now I'm kind of curious. Now you got me thinking. Let's see. Do they even have the ability to order it at this hour? Let me see. Now you got me thinking. Dare I live the impossible dream? Have we entered into the era of technology to allow such things? Now I gotta think. Walmart. Yeah, that's true. Probably. Let's see. Let me check this. Let me see what we got here. Okay. By the way, that right there would play perfectly into the theme of this weekend. Used Uber, you know, at the card show and everything, and it's like an Uber eats some beer. That'd be hysterical. Good old Walmart. Let me see. Let me see what we got here. That would be funny. Costco started selling liquor and beer now too. Yes, yes. Well, the supermarket has it. Like, it's one of those things where I always thought it was weird. They make such a big deal out about it. The grocery stores have it. The you know, those things have. 99% of the time though, I'm still getting it either directly from the brewer or I'm getting it in the LCBO anyway because they got more selection. But if you're already in the supermarket, then we'll go. We'll see. I just voted for you for the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame. You're a lock now. Let me know if you need any help with your speech. Carlisle, you're my guy. Your history as a speechwriter is legendary. They will make you walk 5 minutes to get the beer, though. Some of them are really bad. Some of them have no idea where to find stuff. Yeah, the grocery stores do. That's why I was actually checking. I was looking. I was like, because the supermarket's still open, and they've got the beer aisle. They've got an aisle, and I was like, getting me thinking. Mike's going, go Bills. There you go. Name says, I've only seen 0.5% beer. Nobody. We got a full, the aisle, the beer aisle is regular. It's the same. Like, I can get my Amsterdam, which is 7.1. It's the regular. It's the same beer. I know what you're talking about though. They have the alcohol-free beer, but no, we're in Ontario. They made such a big deal about it. They've got the regular kind. The beer aisle literally has beer. Regular, plain old beer. They've also got the non-alcoholic on the other end, but the regular kind is there at the front. They sell wine at the grocery stores out here. Yeah, got that there. Yeah, he made that his big campaign thing, but I'm sitting there like, dude, I don't care if you put beer in a grocery store. Here's the thing. Some people made a big deal out of this. I don't care if you got beer in the grocery store. 99% of the time, I don't give a crap. And to be honest, it's like, I gain nothing. How about you actually do your job and do something else? I actually need to do something useful. Putting beer in the grocery store doesn't mean shit to me. But thanks for trying. Chilled and all, yep. Yeah, only 1/4. There you go. All right, so let's see. So yeah, we got 7-7, so we got tie game going. Bobbles must not be happy with the Bills CD. Probably not. I think in addition to wanting to sequester himself, like I said, my belief is that Bobbles is in the darkness, hanging out with Aaron Rodgers as we speak. But I suspect that that's part of the reason he's also like, nope, we're not. He doesn't want to be doing a watch along at the same time that he's sitting there going staring his team, going like, win. I'm still of the belief. I genuinely think what I said on the podcast episode the other day is 100% true. I actually think that the real possibility, the only way that Lamar can avoid a lot of the questions that are going to come up next for him is going to be, this year is an opportunity. This year is a window. The Chiefs are playing just well enough to win, but at the same time, they're as vulnerable as they're ever going to be. So I don't know. We'll see. Didn't even see what happened. I was folding all laundry here and looked up and the Bills scored. Got to have all the replays set up name. You You gotta live the PVR. If you're watching on a regular TV, you gotta live the PVR life. If you're on a stream, you can go back 10 seconds, see it all. Don't let yourself be denied, man. Don't let yourself be denied. Let's see here. See if this works. I think it does. Okay, let's try that. So now you guys got me thinking about this. I'm looking into these possibilities. Let's see what we got. Oh, very interesting. Let's see. Maybe. Maybe. Dare I live the impossible dream? Dare I? Interesting. Interesting. Wow, you can even Uber Eats wine rack? Who needs wine delivered? I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Okay. Who knew? Let me see here. Maybe. Okay, let's see if I can manage that. Oh, there we go. Let's try that. So this will be a first if I get an Uber delivery. Might as well add a bag of chips to your... I know, right? If I'm going to go through the trouble. I'll tell you as on the podcast episodes, sometimes we'll record them on a Monday, but I've actually had groceries that got delivered at the same time that basically we were about to start. So I was literally grabbing the stuff. And obviously since it's recorded, it doesn't matter, but it just makes me laugh. It's like, this would be first to have something delivered. Although we did have on a Friday live crumble cookies. Eric had crumble cookies delivered. Bobbles ordered crumble cookies. So I was like, All right. CC says many times there are promos for Uber Eats for ordering beer, like 25% off. I know. No, I've been spammed with those emails for like the longest time. It's actually kind of hilarious. Yeah, they definitely go for it. Okay, so let me close this window here. Let me try this. Now I got options. Let me see. Let me see what I want. Oh, I keep forgetting. Like they actually have a pretty decent selection here. I don't know if any of you in Canada have seen any of the kind of the craft breweries and everything. There's a one called Great Lakes Brewing, and they literally have some really weird themed beers. And on the outside of the can, they'll have some weird stuff. So Great Lakes has Octopus Wants to Fight IPA. It's an IPA, but it's called Octopus Wants to Fight. And they literally have a octopus on the can with boxing gloves on. I was like, y'all are weird, but fair enough. There you go. Did you know that Loser Name has been a Bills fan since day one? That's 65 years ago, but ignore that he's like 30. Listen, Name has been a lot of fans since day one. He's got quite the fandoms. Has a coworker ever made you hate a team? I passionately root against the Chiefs now because I'm one guy I'm sick of listening to. So you know what's funny? You mentioned that. Not personally. I haven't had an issue with one coworker ruining a team for me. But before the Chiefs started their current era of dominance, when they got to their first Super Bowl they actually won, I had a coworker who was a big Chiefs fan. And at the time, you could sympathize with them because the Chiefs had never won a Super Bowl. Well, sorry, they had won a Super Bowl, but it had been like in the early days of the Super Bowls. But it had been like a long time. So if you were a fan for like 20 years, they hadn't won anything. A fan for 30 years, they hadn't won anything. You have to go back to the early Super Bowl days. But so when they won, it was like, hey, congratulations. Now at this point, like a lot of fan bases, when they start getting a little success, they start to become a little insufferable. Not surprising, but it's just kind of funny. Let's see. Got to make my decision. Let me make my judgment call here. Can I get that? Nope. Okay. Let's go this way. We'll go this route. Perfect. Let me do that. 30 plus years ago, we had dry counties in Georgia. In a hotel bar, I was permitted to bring my own liquor and mix it with other drinks. They were not, however, allowed to serve us liquor directly. I had heard about these dry county things. I'm morally opposed. This is the thing, Carlisle. I don't get it. If you got a dry county, then I'm sorry. Then the Second Amendment should apply double. I think everyone should have a gun if you're gonna have a dry county, and let nature take its course. Do what you got to do. Like, that's just wrong. I'm sure there's a section of the Bible that's against it. Now, of course, someone will argue, wait a minute. Why would the Bible go that route? Trust me. They're saying thou shalt have beer. That was on the cutting room floor of the original commandments. True story. Hashtag scholarship. Trust me. All right, so let's see here. Jesus' first milk was creating wine from water. This is true. You see? There's just some contradictions that we can't get past here. It's a tough time. It's a tough scene. All right, so let's see here. Can I get this to work? I'm thinking we got a chance. Let me see. Look at you. Don't try to be crude, Eric. You're getting charged double for the like button for that. Besides, you only drink Guinness. You barely drink beer. I'd call it closer to toxic sewage at times. And besides, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference anyway, as long as it has the right consistency. Tell the truth. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. Perfect. Let me try that. So now I want to make sure this actually works properly. We're going to see. Okay. Make it priority. Oh, will this work? Let's see. By the way, I love my favorite part. It says you must be 19 plus and not intoxicated. Yes. Legally to order alcohol, you must be. I appreciate that. I secretly want to go like, what are you gonna do? You got a breathalyzer? Like, how are you gonna make sure they're not intoxicated when they order it? Yep. Gotta be right. I know. Anyone have a small wager on the game? Fair. Did I have both? Yes. 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 Let's see here. All righty, we're going to try it. We're going to see what happens here. They claim to be able to deliver it in time. In time. Got my phone with me. We'll see. Maybe I shall get my beverage yet. We'll find out. All right. Let's get caught up on what's going on here. So right now my feed here is about 5 seconds ahead of what I've got there on the score. Let me refresh this quickly and see. Make sure it's still accurate. Okay, yep, sounds about right. My daughter can drink legally at school in Scotland. She was pissed when she returned from winter break and couldn't drink in the U.S. That's true. I think in the U.S. for most of it is what, 21? 21 plus for alcohol, I believe. I would take the V on Van Noy's jersey just for fun. Look at you, Bobby. Live the dream. So 7-7 in the first quarter. Not too bad. It doesn't feel like there's been too much. I don't know. Are you folks observing that it feels like, they're able to move around. It's just a matter of whether they can execute or not. I don't think the conditions are having too much of an impact on their ability to move around and try to make plays. Yep, 21. That's what I thought. Yep. Keeping it fairly close so far. We'll see. But yeah, that's one thing we don't have that problem here. You have to be 19, but if you're 19, you can walk into the bar, go get your drink. You can order a drink, whatever. 19 plus is fine. And now we can even get our beer and our beers in the grocery store. So exciting. Not name, unfortunately. He's got to wrangle his 47 kids, and he's going to have to do it without his beer. It's very sad. It's crazy. It is. Although I will say, and Bobby, you'll appreciate this. So with the whole grocery store thing, I like to do the self-checkout at the grocery store because I don't like dealing with the rest of it, getting in line to do whatever. Fine. But I go over, and what happens though is that whenever if you scan it through, I will always do the beer. If I do grab a beer in the grocery store while I'm grabbing other stuff, I'll do it last. That's the last thing I'll do. I'll scan everything else first, put it in the grocery bag, all good. Go ahead. But then the last thing I'll do is I'll scan the beer. As soon as I do, the little thing goes on the screen. It won't let me go without a supervisor override. So they literally got to walk over and go, are you over 19? I've been, it's like, for a while. And he goes, dude, have a good day. I'm like, yep. I'm glad we have all these security measures in place. That's, thank goodness you're here. You drive 15 in some states. Yep. Go to war and die at 18. Listen, you will die sober. Not for this foolishness. Carlos says, there are some municipalities, exactly New Orleans, that will let you drink in a restaurant at 18 with the supervision of a parent. There you go. Take your camera with you to the door when your beers arrive. You want to see somebody try to hand me beer? Some underage kid comes over and asks if you're over 19. There you go. Well, what's funny is, so with Instacart, so there's two ones that I haven't done Uber Eats in a while. But they use a similar mechanism, like the actual setup, the system and everything is very similar to it. So even the way they keep a track of the status is very similar to what Instacart has. But so what happens is they will literally just be like, see ID, and basically they'll take like a quick scan of the ID, and that's it. That's what checked. In this case, I think with Uber Eats, you also got to give them like a passcode. So there's like a passcode thing in there. But they give it to you here, and it's right on the screen. And then when you're supposed to go, when they show up, you give them the number, and that's it. But yeah, sometimes what they'll do is they'll just take like either a picture or a quick review of the ID, and then you're covered. That used to be a thing called dial-a-bottle delivery back in the 80s. Yeah. Now, Bobby, I don't know if you've ever used it before, but did they even bother to check anybody's ID, or did they just hand it over regardless of whoever opened the door? That's what I'd be curious about. Like I said, I know with these ones, they actually will take a picture just so they can go like, yep, we did check. And that's how they meet the qualification. Yes, we checked. Here's a picture. We took a picture of the ID. But I would bet on a lot of those. They're like, yeah, dude, I'm just here to deliver it, man. I'll just leave it here. It's fine. That's the only thing they can't do. They can't just leave it at the door. I wasn't old enough, so I wouldn't know. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to ask Eric. He's pretty old. He can tell us. If we ask Bobbles, he can tell us about the 1880s version. It's very exciting. I'm kind of curious now, actually, how Bobbles is doing on his end, how he's feeling about it. 7-7 is not too, tie game. Everybody's still in it. Nothing crazy. But I'd be curious how he's feeling about his prospects so far. You could drink on base if you're on 18. At least you could. There you go. Back in Alberta, you can purchase alcohol and drink at 18, but here in BC, it's 19. What a hardship. But the beer was like 2%. So I don't know which ones they would have had available back then. The one that I've got here, I'm just getting some what they call Stella Artois. It's 5%. It's pretty standard. It's regular stuff. Lappin Lager in the second quarter, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. And besides name, Alberta is basically a lawless society. I'm surprised they even bothered having laws. They should just cancel laws. Let's hope the beer is cold enough when it arrives. Yes, yes. We're in perfect conditions for. I could like just leave this outside. Like you don't need refrigeration for this. It's redundant. In Lloydminster, I heard the people would go to the Saskatoon side of town to the Alberta side to go to the bar. This would not surprise me. If you're in a border, if you're in a border town, yeah, probably at 18, yeah. If you're in a border town, honestly, here the funny thing is, like, with the American folks talking about the 21. If you live in a border town, you literally could just go across the border and be like, "Are you 19? Yep. There you go. Just go across the border." Carlos says, "My older brother could drink at 18. My older sister could drink at 18 for half a year, and then not in the second half. And then 19, 20, 21. They grandfathered in the law. I had to wait until 21 legally. Complex. Complex. Still happens today between Ottawa and Hull Gatineau. Fair. Fair. Oh, by the way, Mike, since you're here, it's kind of a side thing. I've been kind of like this past weekend has been super busy. I will get back to you on what we were talking about for a couple of those magazines. I'll probably just take the Canadian Sports Card Collector ones. Just letting you know in advance. If you want, just ping me, let me know, and I'll take care of it for those ones, and I'll just take those. For the Beckett's, I'm good for now, but I'll just take the CSC magazines. In Italia, you have to be 5 to drink wine. Rob, 5? You have to wait till then? Scandalous. Sounds good. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, just let me know, and I'll take care of it. We'll be all good. I think 18-year-olds should be permitted to drink Canadian beer. Dude, I don't know if you want to play that game. Way too many folks in the state are like, Bud Light? Do you mean water? Water? Bud Light. How dare you? That's an affront. That's an abomination to the Lord. You may as well have just said alcohol-free beer. I thought about ordering the beer that I have that's from Guelph in honor of Eric, but I decided to stick with a standard classic. We'll see what happens. I don't know if you guys have ever used any of these apps. I do enjoy that they go through the little, they'll show the little status meter, all the different things, and they'll have the little GPS like picture of the car, and it's like you're following it around. It kind of makes me laugh. Eric says, not real. Yeah, Boston Bruins aren't real. I'm glad you finally figured it out. That's very happy. That sounds like science, Bobby. The science might be real. If you're really good, you can get some of the stouts. Some of the stouts and some of those are way higher. There's like Russian Imperial stouts, and some of those are actually pretty strong. But yes. So now everybody knows Eric's not real. He's still paying for the like button, though. The Boston Bruins suck every year. All the years that begin in 1, 2, 0, everything. They always suck. Bobby, you can back me up on this. That's hashtag scholarship. It'd be easier if Eric would talk about when the Boston Bruins were good. Never. Easy. Save some time, Eric. Don't strain yourself. If you like Eric, be sure to hit the like button. Yes, Bob Jackson. Yes. And good evening. You checking out the game? Or are you just kind of hanging out? Much love. I enjoy the love in the comment section. It's good times. Good times. Let's see how we're doing here. All right, so right now I'm at about 12:35 of the second quarter. Interesting, interesting. Hanging out, cruising around whatnot. Fair, fair. Yep. Yeah. It's kind of the reason I like doing these. It's just that it's otherwise I would just be puttering around some of the I'd be puttering around eBay and stuff anyway. I don't give all the attention to the game. Have you wrenched today? That's a valid question. Boston Bruins, Buffalo Bills. Gotcha. All right. I like it. Alrighty. I appreciate that you defined the acronyms. Always good. And I got a lot of screens going on. Wow. All coincidences. There you go. So actually, since Carlisle mentioned it, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with it. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. So far, so good. So far, everybody's been well behaved with the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame thing so far. There's only been a handful of ballots that I've seen. A couple. It did make me laugh, though, that I was watching a couple of those ballot videos. Already, I'm getting the vibe very quickly that it's going to play out kind of like what I said. I think it's going to be stacked with a lot of the vintage card YouTube channels that are all becoming eligible this year, brand new ones. I think there's going to be the voting block that's basically going to stuff the ballot box for a lot of those. I think we're going to see a couple of them. We're going to see a number of them on that list. It's going to kind of play out kind of like what I said, which I thought was very funny because it was so predictable. You knew it was going to happen. So we'll see there. Cold hand ball drop. Oh, look at you with your evil master plan. Should have gone with the under. All right, Bill's got the ball back. Fumble! Exclamation point. There's quite the statement. Baltimore's not cold weather friendly. Or they're playing in Buffalo, so I think that's it's kind of playing out. Yeah, Buffalo, I've been there enough times when it's chilly. I don't know, like what's the weather today in Buffalo? Now I'm curious. Let's see, what is it today? Buffalo, New York. Lake effect snow warning, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's basically the same as here. Yeah, so not really that far off today. Yeah, we got more wind chill, so they're downright balmy. Those wusses. Psh. Washington win is a pretty big upset. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But like I said, Eric doomed them. It's Eric's fault. We know this now. 2 years in a row, the man has jinxed them. The next question, the mystery we have to solve now, is we got to find out why Eric has it out for Detroit. That's what I want to know. Can't find your seat sometimes with the 1-inch plus layer of ice in their metal benches. True. It's chilly, man. It's pretty chilly out there. But yeah, I think I was there at a Bills game years ago in December that was colder than that. The tailgate helps with that one. I will say the tailgate helps a lot with that one. It's still not a good time. It's still not a good scene. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty bad. Yeah, they got a bunch. I think they still have. I don't know. Like I haven't been since they've redone it now. Now it's not called Orchard Park. I love the tug of war. Nice. I'm curious. Do I have this set up here? I don't know. Let's see, do I have that set up? It's not logged in. It's all right. Touchdown, Buffalo. All right. We'll see. Whenever you're good, Paul, just give me a thumbs up. What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Oh, just that winter chicken pox really sucks right there.
I'm sure. I have no doubt.
Yeah. And the fact that it's like negative 20 here. So, yeah, you keep the house at 65, but it still feels lower. And yeah, it sucks.
Yep. Well, I have the obviously not quite as cold. It's usually not a little bit milder. Southern Ontario is not bad for that. We're kind of in that middle zone. It'll never be the coldest. It'll never be the hottest, but our range is usually the thing. We can get pretty cold and we can get pretty hot. So if somebody's not used to that, they don't like it. It's not it's cold enough to keep most people cold, and it's warm enough to overheat some folks.
So do you get like the lake effect heat in the winter?
Sometimes it really year by year it really varies a lot. There are some years that are really mild, and then there are some years where like no, we can go into a deep freeze. We can go into it like right now. It's so if I convert it to Fahrenheit, right now it feels about 12, so it's not like terrible. But again, it depends. Like I was literally born in Panama, so I hate the cold anyway. And I've been here forever, but they say, "Oh, you get used to it." No, I don't get used to it. I'll tolerate it. I've built up a tolerance for it.
Yeah.
Relative to some folks, but like I still don't like it. I don't enjoy it.
Understood.
Yeah.
0 is basically the tolerance level for me.
Yeah.
Like it's not that I can't head out below that, but it's just like it's different when you have the minus in front of the number.
Yeah. We had a couple of weeks ago. We had a week that we were getting close to touching those numbers. We had the minuses in Fahrenheit because it can get there. Like I said, it's there now. There's parts of northern Ontario that can get because you might as well be hanging out with Santa at that point. There are parts of there that are like you're bordering on the North Pole. And in Alberta, parts of Alberta, the same thing. You're hanging out in the coldest areas, so it's not that bad, but it can still get chilly over here. Buffalo gets the lake effect winds, and they always get the worst of all. But yeah, when it comes to Buffalo, we're just on the opposite sides of the lake, but it just depends on which way the wind blows. So we can either be the recipients of the benefit or the detriment, depending on what's going on. Atlanta is currently on an extreme cold warning. It's 29 degrees Fahrenheit. I envy you. 29 would be just fine.
That's because they don't have it built into their state budgets for salt on the roads.
Yeah, they're not set up for
not
set up for negative temperatures and snow and things like that. If
Yeah.
a couple snowflakes hit the ground, basically it's a national emergency. If they get a couple inches of snow, then it's basically the end of days.
Yeah, basically everyone up in the northern half, they have salt and the plows in the budget and stuff. Down in the south, they pretty much have it like stashed in one spot, maybe 2, and then whoever needs it just gets it deployed.
Yep.
Which
There's a
really
good one.
sucks
So
if
Paul-
you get it because, yeah.
I agree. So Paul here is talking about Alberta here. So coldest I've ever experienced is minus 73 in northern Alberta and wind of 89. So this is the one when we get in the negatives is where
That's
it works
extreme.
in reverse. It
Yeah,
is.
that's
So
extreme.
do you want to know what that is in Fahrenheit?
Is it over 100?
It's minus 99.
Okay. We've had it once 5 years ago or so where it got to be negative 81.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a different level at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. But what Paul's talking about is like in northern Alberta. So when that's what I was referencing earlier. That's why I say like when I talk about southern Ontario, look, if I'm talking to Bobbles and he talks about cold and I'm talking about cold, we're talking about two different things. So in relative terms, there's a big difference. But there's parts of the country up north where they're like, oh, that's downright balmy. It's like, no, it's not. It's just you guys are basically in an alternate dimension over there.
Yeah.
There's levels.
The ocean and all the inland lakes, they really help him.
Oh, yes.
You don't get the
Absolutely.
extremes that way.
Yeah. So the only thing this area has is that our range. So our coldest and our warmest, the range between those two things are really wild. Because if you're already in a cold place, you're usually going to be cold anyway. But if you can get super hot, so basically we can rival Texas's heat when we go to our best, and then we can still be pretty damn cold at our coldest, and that can happen in the same year.
Yeah, we can get that too.
Yeah, it's a dry cold, which is completely different than a wet cold. Wow, thank goodness for that. I don't think a dry cold is the same as a dry heat.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that I rip on Lamar all the time, and the play before I jumped in the shower was the interception, and the play after I got out was the fumble. It's like, there we go. That's my boy.
The battle in the Discord shall be legendary. Shall be glorious. Not gonna lie. All right, so 2014, Atlanta went through the Snowmageddon, 2.5 inches of snow at midday. Cars had to be abandoned, I'm sure. Let's see here. Oh, you heard a doorbell, did you? Well, with my headphones, I can't hear. Let me check. My friend might be here with my beer. Let's see. I'll be back in a sec.
I should almost say that this is the F1 time and the non-sport time, and I should just make these 3 minutes the most, make the most out of them.
I had to check, Bobby, because actually on the app it's saying it's close. So they were giving me the warning on the app too. So I did have to check. And actually with these, I can't hear if the doorbell goes off. Oh, let's see. Nope. Actually, right now it says time to meet at the door. So that's why I actually had to check. It says almost there, arriving now. So I wanted to see. Dude, listen. When I discovered I didn't have my beer here, it was devastating. It was troubling. It's like when Paul finds out there aren't enough bodies nearby. It's not good. No bueno. Not cool, man. Not cool.
Feed me more.
That's all I'm saying. Grew up in Fort Vermilion, Alberta. Got pretty cold up there. Yeah. Lots of sections of Alberta get pretty darn chilly.
Did you pick up anything else besides the XFL box yesterday, or no?
So I did. I got an AEW Black Diamond box. Wanted to try it. I wanted to grab a second one, see if I could do better than the first round. I might have actually done worse, which was very impressive. I was like, wow, okay. So I was like, all right, I'm taking the hit. Clearly, you guys don't want me to buy these boxes anymore. I give up. I tried twice. That's not going to work out. I bet you my ROI though on the XFL box would be better because it was real bad. Football and beer, absolutely. Henry needs to get 30 plus. Yes. Yeah. The path for Baltimore is to control the ball, and they really do need to. They need to use their running game. Like, it should be a healthy dose of Henry. That's the game. That's what they got to do.
So I don't think, is there anyone you can hit on the autograph list for that?
For what? Sorry. Oh, you're talking about the XFL
box.
I can't remember. Did you? I don't know if any of you guys mentioned it. Is Tommy Maddox in the autograph checklist? I thought so. I'll double check. I'm pretty sure he is on the checklist. Let's see. 2001. Topps XFL. Let's see about this checklist.
Oh, that's under the regular on TCDB. Okay.
So
all right, we're going to go end zone autographs.
Yep, Tommy Maddox is there. Let's see, anybody else? What's funny is that I know some of these guys because some of them actually spent a little time in the CFL. So I do know some of the names from time they spent there. But I think Tommy Maddox is probably your biggest name. Like, He Hate Me is funny, but it's not, he doesn't have too much else going on.
So do you know who the Packer is that's on the autograph checklist?
Tim Lester, Brady, Jermaine Copeland. Not off the top of my head.
LaShawn Johnson.
LaShawn Johnson.
Yep, he was going to be all everything and couldn't move.
Okay.
And
that time it was a knock on the door. All right, not a false alarm this time. I do hear a knock this time. Be right back.
ooh, I thought that was a pick.
All right, crisis averted.
And Lamar almost had a third interception.
Oh, yeah? I see.
Wouldn't have been his fault, or turnover, sorry. That one wouldn't have been his fault, but...
But the narrative on the Discord shall continue. This is one of my favorite things for folks that don't know. On the Discord, facts do not care about whether it's fair or unfair. That doesn't matter as much as the shit talking. The shit talking is the thing.
Very
There
much
can be
so.
no weaknesses allowed. There can be no weaknesses allowed.
I found myself this week, though, looking into Favre stuff a little bit
Brett Favre.
more.
By the way, that was a nice pickup on that one. I have one of those. I already had it graded and everything. It was in the pickup. But actually, those look good. The shine on that card's fun.
Yeah, I have a regular one where it's the Randy Moss. For those who don't know, is the 98 Brilliance Shining Stars Pulsars.
Right.
Which means I need to scroll all the way up because we had all the talk in the...
Yep.
The shine on it's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's on both sides, which is actually really a nice feature.
Yeah.
So you can actually see the refractor kind of look, the rainbow kind of reflection on it on both sides of the card, which is good.
I don't have it in hand yet, but I know the guy selling it, and we worked out a trade, which was mostly beneficial.
Good.
I traded the last 2 or 3 sales on that are like 150, 175, 200. And I traded a Peyton Manning rookie, which I had $20 into, and Edgerrin James that I paid way less than what I should have. But, I have enough of his stuff. I found a Peppers rookie refractor. Again, I paid nothing for it because it was before he got in the Hall of Fame. And I traded the card that you guys all made fun of me for overpaying on, which you guys were accurate and I was not. One of my Ayrton Senna's, which is that one I took a nice big loss on.
Right.
But that's okay.
The thing is, like, look, again, since it's not the Discord, we'll be 5% less shit talking. Only 5%. The reality is, it doesn't matter. Like, if anybody has actually been in cards for more than 5 seconds, you've made a deal that actually I probably shouldn't have made that deal, and that's okay as long as you're like, all right, you know what, fine, whatever. That was my bad. And then, all right, can I get anything out of it? Sometimes the answer is yeah, just get rid of it, move it on or whatever. And then the next thing you get will be the one that's correct.
Yeah, like some of the items I got from the guy before. Let's see if I can find them all. They're in here somewhere. Not that one. That one. So like I got some Kramer's Choice Favre from
That's a
him.
good year. Is that 97?
Yeah, 97, 98,
Yep.
99.
Nice.
Once, yeah, 98, 99. So I got those from him. And then I also got a 98 Destination Honolulu. And we traded a whole bunch of other stuff. And I looked at his eBay maybe 3 months after it. And like all the things I traded him all sold. So I'm like, is that a win or a loss? I'm like, all right, I guess I got what I wanted. It's fine.
I think that's the thing. It can be kind of neutral at that point. I think that's okay.
Yeah, like Favre refractors, both years that they had illuminators. I got the Favres, like that's fine. I can live with the fact that the stuff I traded to him sold. That's fine. I mean, I still walk around Wisconsin with rare Favre stuff. Like, it's not going to hurt me.
No, I think that's one of those things where you can hang on to that stuff, and I think you just kind of sit back and there'll be an opportunity. That's why sometimes I'll grab the wrestling stuff has been kind of my little niche lately because I'm watching it closely enough. That's why I was laughing though because I recorded the video of that box break on the other channel yesterday, and already it's got a couple of comments and people are like, oh man, that's a rough break. And then one guy is like, I said, oh, I've been enjoying some of these breaks. Well, thanks for doing these, subscribe. And I was like, well, basically that was the point was to let other people enjoy it. When I opened it and I saw what the cards were, I was like, yep, that one didn't go. But it'll make for an entertaining break. People like a train wreck. Like they'll enjoy it.
How much was it? And what did you get out of it?
So it was it's 240 Canadian is what it came out to. So right now with the exchange, I'm gonna call it 180 for you guys.
175, yeah.
Yeah, right there in that neighborhood. So out of it, like the best car, the autograph was a manufactured patch of Miro. Nothing. Yeah, there was a memorabilia of Anna Jay, which she has some fans. She is popular, but the regular jerseys out of that really haven't. They've fallen really quickly. There's not too much to them. And the let's see what we got.
That's because the people who buy them hope they aren't the jersey.
Yeah. So like the base card is Buddy Matthews, good wrestler, but not particularly popular. They got squared circle gems, which is a numbered thing. It's a nice looking card, but it's Shane Taylor, who's basically spent on most of his time on Ring of Honor. That's not a big deal. Shibata, good wrestler, but again, not somebody you're going to worry about. And then there's another manufactured patch of Split Spade Jay White. Again, good wrestler, but meh. It's manufactured. Yeah. So, and that's the entire thing. So 6 cards. If there is, what's that?
I have no issue with the higher end product because you know the gamble that you make.
Oh, and I literally made a video before it came out explaining the gamble. So yeah, I am better versed than most. I know exactly the risk that I'm taking when I'm buying the product.
Yeah. It sucks that it finished like that, but okay.
Yeah. And that's basically the thing was I mentioned I did a video specifically talking about that beforehand where I just said like, but that's what's kind of my response to this thing. It's like, I appreciate it. They were saying like, oh no, so tough luck, man. And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I knew what I was getting into going into it. I understood the risk. I don't mind gambling. I enjoy it. I no risk, no reward because I've opened plenty of boxes where I've done extremely well. I've overperformed on a ton of boxes and on some of the cards that I found, but it's one of those things where it's on the high end one. Upper Deck made a mistake using so many manufactured patches because no one likes them. It's not even that there's not a lot of value in it. It's like, but no one actually likes the cards. So you get a double whammy. Even if you pull the best character, no one likes the cards. They're not worth much.
Yeah. I had a feeling that the non-sport thing was going to take off, and about a year and a half ago, I started looking at Beckett and seeing if anyone had any old like TNA autographs that were that shouldn't be sitting there at prices that they shouldn't either, and I couldn't find anything. I'm like, oh, do you have like a AJ Styles autograph for like $3 on here? I'm like, it's worth a shot, and no, I couldn't find anything. Joe wasn't on there, and like no one else that was worth anything. I'm like, okay, fine, I tried.
Yep. But it's funny though because kind of playing into this theme. So even though that card show didn't have anything crazy, buddy of mine actually was looking at a dealer's table, and the dealer actually had a lot of wrestling cards. Actually had an entire showcase and a half dedicated to it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I was looking at it and everything. And what caught his eye, my buddy's eye, was a Rhea Ripley autograph. And I was like, okay, yeah. There's a couple different ones, but it was the rookie year one for her, with the rookie emblem on it, and it's a decent card. And I was looking at it, and we ended up. He was having a little trouble finding a comp. I helped him find the comp for it, so just so he could see what it was going. They were able to make a deal, and all good. But it is on card, which is great. It is a rookie year autograph for her, which is great. All good. And she's obviously very popular, so no issue there. But I was looking at it and going like, it was like, you know what? It's like I was saying to my buddy, like your timing, I had like 3 or 4 different Rhea Ripley autographs, and I was paying like 40 or 50 bucks a piece, or less, because she was on the cusp, but she hadn't been promoted yet that way, and now she obviously is, and I think it was like 300 bucks or 200 and change. So it's like, yep. Now today makes total sense because her market has gone up quite a bit, and now she is champion again, and she's going to be promoted easily into WrestleMania for some kind of a program. We'll see what happens, but obviously she's a featured player on that show.
Yeah, she almost doesn't need the strap to be relevant.
No, she was already good, but it doesn't hurt. Like she'll be just by having it, she'll be in a feature match. She'll get some kind of a promoted match. So, but it doesn't hurt her in any way. But the point is that it's a niche where being out of sight, out of mind is not good. But if you're being heavily promoted and consistently promoted, that takes care of most of the work for you. So the point is, if somebody had bought some of it earlier, a little while ago, you would have still been all right. As it is, he didn't get a bad deal on it. It was still in line with comps, so not unreasonable. But obviously, it was cheaper 2 years ago. Namir says, I bought a 0304 Topps Pristine Jordan 2-2 rare rookie refractor at 199. Haven't seen many of those via eBay. Nice. I do know you love the 0304s, so Pristine's good. Pristine's a good brand. Very nice indeed. But that's what happens a lot of them. I was showing him that I actually was able to, even though AEW's had its struggles and everything, well, because they've had a bunch of folks go back over to WWE. CM Punk had a green PMG that was on eBay. It was literally $200 for a buy now, and it had already been graded. And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll hit the buy now, thanks."
That feels cheap.
It was like I was sitting there like the green's out of 10, and it's already graded, and it was graded as an 8, which is decent for a PMG. It's decent because they get scratched up and dinged up on the sides pretty easily. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll take that. So it came in. I looked at it. I go, yeah, this looks clean. I'll take a picture. I listed it right back up. Sold for $375 in a week. That sounds more correct.
Nice. Yeah, I was surprised at how inexpensive Rollins was for an autograph.
Topps made too many. Topps and then Panini make, so it's a catch-22. A lot of the people that are opening the boxes say, oh my God, you got to have an autograph per box to make this worth my while. And then I was like, but you realize if they do that, that means they got to either get lesser talents to sign a crap ton, which you don't want, or they get some of the mid-tier and better talents to sign way more autographs along with the lesser talents to fill in the gaps. Because The Undertaker isn't going to sign 10 times as many autographs for you. He'll sign a few more, but not like 10 times as many. Stone Cold isn't going to go sign, 20 times as many autographs. He goes, I'll sign some for you guys, but I'm not going to sit here for 3 hours signing autographs.
Oh, he can sit there for 3 hours. Poncho's going to sit in the other arm while he signs.
Yeah, the thing is, he's not. Some of those guys can, but they're not going to, and they don't want to. So you can get them to sign a little bit, but they're going to be like, yeah, man. Like, look, I'll give you 45 minutes. Whatever I sign in 45 minutes, that's it. Some of the other guys, you can basically tell them, hey, I need you to sit here for an afternoon and sign a bunch of stuff. And it's like, okay, fine, sure. The current talents are also easier because they can go get them when they run some of the shows. They'll go to like Royal Rumble or one of the WrestleMania or some of them, and they'll have like a whole conference room where a bunch of them will have a stack of cards and they'll just sign off a bunch of stuff. there's your autographs for it. And if they need any stickers, they can just sign off a bunch of stickers that time. But then that's how you get one autograph per box. So somebody like a Seth Rollins, he is in the tier that he would still sign a fair number of autographs, which means there's still going to be a lot of them out there.
No. It's one of the reasons I have to explain, like, Tomlinson jerseys are not as expensive as you would think. That's because he was in the one per blaster relic era, or one relic per blaster era. And I'm like, yeah, that was the whole career was in that era. I'm like I'm interested, but your price is nuts. Oh no, these are this is the one that's out of 50. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Right. I'd agree with that. It's all relative. I think what makes it tricky with some of these items is that I think there's we've had this debate before, but it's the discussion between rarity and demand, and they both matter, but the demand matters the most because, oh, well, there's 500 of them out there. Yeah, but if 12 million people want it, the price is going to go up. If you could have an item where there's 2 in the world, but if only one person wants it, well, then after they bought their one, then that's it. The other one just sits and gathers dust. Doesn't matter, it's rare. They both have to be there. You want it to be rare and for people to want it. You need both things.
I fall on the other side of the fence when it comes to like the extreme rarity, but we've been over this. It's okay.
Yeah. Bobby's in the same camp as you. His theory is if something rare enough, people will want it just because it's rare, sight unseen, for no other reason than, well, it's rare, so I must want it. And I'm like, why? Do you want the thing or not?
If you have to complete like a checklist because of it, I want it.
Yes.
If you do not have...
that gives you a reason. That is like completing a set.
Yeah.
You have
like,
a reason specifically to need that thing.
Like, I get, playfully shit on for liking vintage football, but also you can make an argument that half the cards made then become rookies because there were so few sets. And it's like, yeah, but if you want rookie for this player, the pop count is just so low that it is what it is. If you don't like my price, that's fine, but I know what I have.
Yep. Carl here says, I've overpaid for many an item because I wanted more than the other guy. And then after I had the item, the other guy didn't have anyone else to bid against. Yeah. And that can happen.
That'll happen.
Yeah. And he got his cheap. And that's what happens when so what you're referring to, and something we've talked about before, it's when the demand is what I call thin. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but it just means it's thin.
Yeah.
So the only thing that matters is, was the second bidder willing to go to a certain level? Yes. And then follow up. As soon as you remove one person from the equation, if they're not interested anymore, or they have their one, the next person was willing to get there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next person was willing to go there with you, but the third person was only willing to go to half that price.
Yeah.
So the price drops like a stone, and it isn't because it's bad, but it's like, well, there weren't enough bidders in the marketplace. You needed more bidders.
Yeah. I have the patience, which can sometimes be a virtue, and sometimes it's just a royal pain in the ass to have the bin oboe for like every item.
Right.
So if you don't like my price, you can make an offer, and sometimes things sit on eBay for 2 years. It is what it is.
Well, so for some items, so for very specific, if it's a hot in demand item, an auction's not a bad idea. Like if it's like the new hotness and everybody's on it and they're trying to, and they got the FOMO, then an auction's not a bad deal. But if it's a very specialized item where you're looking for the right buyer, buy now best offer becomes a lot more interesting, because sometimes something will sit for a while to find that buyer.
Yeah. Like, I'm surprised I can't move this. This is one of the case hits from the late 90s for Favre, and it's the highest one graded.
Right.
Nobody wants it. So it's one of the more...
Did you write it correctly?
Yeah, it's one of the more random case hits of the late 90s. So I picked it up on a My Slabs auction for no reserve because someone was dumb enough to have a My Slabs auction with no reserve.
There you go. Zachary says, I walked past the Mike Modano signing yesterday. Those lines are crazy. I believe it. You're in Dallas. I get it. It makes sense. Carlos says, I've noticed the same. Let's say 20, 25 out of 10 came out first. The second and third sales are high, and then the fourth comes on for way less. It happens. It happens. Because you've only got so many high-end bidders that want to pay a certain amount. And then it gets a little bit, then it goes down a bit. It's a tricky
And
thing.
you also have the guys that are just sitting there going, if I sit this out for 3 months or 6 months, what's the price? And even if you want it, if you know it's going to be there in the future, fine. But if you're making like the rainbow or something, and there's an out of five or out of one,
Yep.
Get your money ready.
Yeah. And that happens. So 21-10 at the half. Looking a bit rough for Team Bobbles.
Team Lamar can't throw is doing well.
Ooh. Let me tell you, if they don't come back, ooh. The discussion in the Discord shall be entertaining. Well, the good news is I was able to get the beer. My friend PJ from Uber Eats delivered. And yes, because it was outside for even a little bit, this doesn't need anything. It's cold enough.
Nice.
Solidly cold.
Yeah, I could throw my milk outside, but I'm good. And yes, this is Roger is on the cup.
The darkness. My love-hate relationship with Rogers continues. I'm one of the guys. I don't know if you've ever seen him on Instagram. This film not yet rated. He also has a YouTube channel, so he's a big Packer collector. He's actually been picking up some really nice photos, really good stuff. But he also collects a fair bit of Aaron Rodgers, and then he used to be kind of a Clay Matthews super collector. So again, same vein, a lot of really nice stuff. But yeah, I can't get into buying the Rodgers ones because every time he opens his mouth, he irritates me. I'm sitting there like, look, I'm always going to appreciate and acknowledge your accomplishments. Super Bowl 45 is something I enjoyed watching tremendously. I was at a buddy's place. We actually had a whole Super Bowl party, and I was sitting there going like, oh, come on, win this thing. So it was a good time. I enjoyed it tremendously. But at the same time, every time I was like, you know what? Could you just become a mute? Could somebody like take out his vocal cords so we don't have to listen to him talk anymore? I just don't want to listen to this man speak.
The other issue is, what do you relate as his most desirable cards? The gold refractors from, besides rookies, the gold refractors from what? I mean, yeah, 06, but he didn't really play yet. So
Yeah.
the gold refractors from what, 08 to 15, and then the gold prisms. Like, I mean, that's pretty much it. You don't have other things to hunt after.
Yeah, I think the only thing
Kind
you
of
got
hurts
with
the
him.
area.
Yeah, I think maybe to your point, maybe one thing that plays into it as well is that because of that, you can kind of spread it out. So instead of there being a handful of definitive, this is the must-have chase item, you're kind of spread out because most of his career is in the Panini era. So there's a bunch of different Panini inserts and stuff, but most of it is uninspired. It's nothing like, oh my God, maybe like the early gold prisms for Panini might be interesting, like for the right person who wants it, but that'd be about it. Like there isn't that much that is that interesting for him. He might be more the kind, if I was going to collect him, I would probably pursue it more like almost a typeset. I would want to have some kind of a nice autograph, some kind of a maybe game used patch auto of some kind of gold refractor, and we call it a day.
I was at trade night and I picked up a 2022 gold prism of his. Nice out of 10 and everything. And I had it for like a month and I'm like, I like it, but I don't. I paid basically 75 for it, and I got 100 and a Favre black refractor out of it. So I'm like, yeah, fine. All right. I'll move it along.
I think it's I think what helped Brett out is that because he had so much time in the 90s, there was a bunch of good inserts during that time period. So there's stuff you can look out. You don't have to get everything, but you can find some stuff that's like, actually, I really like that. There you go. Then go for it. Grab a couple of those.
Literally
and
one
you're
of my
set.
favorite cards you can get on ComC for like 95 cents for Brett Favre.
The black gold.
Yeah.
It's a good looking card.
And like, I just remember being of that age, and there weren't many chases, and then you're like, oh my god, 1 in every 72, and then you have to hit the checklist. I'm like, you log on all the years later, and then you pick this up for, I found this for 50 cents. I'm like,
yep,
okay, fine. Like, I picked up the Barry Sanders and then immediately relisted it on ComC, and picked up the Deion Sanders and kept it.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense.
So when's your next actual show?
You're talking about card show?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next one, the real one, I think there's going to be a CSC show, like a regular CSC show next, maybe in February or March. I might check that one out, but I think the next real one, the fall, is supposed to be end of April, beginning of May. That's the proper one. So that'll be the one that I'm looking into to checking out. That should be a lot of fun.
And by CSA, that's like all the guys who do like the circuit, and they hit up the, I'm not sure what the expo center is, but they hit up the same center, and it's just not as large as the expo.
So they did that. So they did that for this one. It's so CSC is the promoters basically, and they do a pretty good job. But they've been trying to. I've been watching them with interest, trying to figure out like, you guys are playing around with a lot of formats, and it's like you're trying to figure out the right combo, the mix, because they really want to have the TCG anime. They almost want to be like Comic-Con or like an anime expo, but without being an anime expo. So then they've got the sports card guys, but because it's not exactly the full size of a show, you can draw the ones from in the province. You've got good dealers. So the problem is you have good dealers who have good inventory, but they're the ones who are looking for something specific. And that's where the one was complaining about it, because he got like a corner spot, but he was kind of stuck in the corner in the back, and he paid $1,400 for a booth to have that. It was like limited traffic. So it's not great for him. And he can make it a buying show. Like, he actually does very well in buying stuff. And he's got regular auctions and things that he does, so he makes money with that. And then when he does run some shows, he's got good inventory because of all the collections he buys and all that stuff. But at $1,400 is a lot of money to get stuck into a low traffic area, because it's in the corner and you're kind of out of the way, and people weren't really finding you. So it's too expensive. It's just too expensive for that kind of thing. Whereas a dedicated sports card show, so it's weird because they're trying to run this line, because they invited one of the Toronto Maple Leafs hockey players, one of the young guys, to come in and sign, which will draw a crowd. There will be a crowd for that. But then they also brought in like a K-pop person and some other things that'll have an audience too, but they're completely different audiences. You're trying to have your cake and eat it too. You're trying to be like entertainment and also sports and TCG. So it's like, pick an
It's almost
identity,
like
man.
the Fanatics thing, where it's, hey, we're everything, but you're nothing as well.
Yeah, it's too many different combinations, and that was the problem. Is I was sitting there like, it's not enough of any one specific thing for us to get our head around. And then, like I said, when we went there, they went to the International Center, which is the same place they have the expo. So I go, so that basically you're creating a small expo, and then charging more for the ticket than what the expo charges me. That ain't gonna work. it doesn't make sense. These things, one of these things is not like the others. You're trying to mix and match stuff and trying to figure it out. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I like hitting up and seeing the dealers and stuff, I'm not going to drive an hour and 45 minutes to go to the Chicago Spectacular when I'm going to see all the same dealers and 5 times more for the national. It's like, and I have the gas there, and I have all the tolls and stuff. It's like, no thanks.
Yeah. So that's why I think the March one is going to be probably interesting, because it'll be back in its more regular venue, which means automatically it costs them less to run it, which means the ticket price is going to lower back down, which will make more sense. And it also means that the dealers themselves, probably the table cost is also lower. So more of the regular, if you're going to be kind of the local show, then you need more of the weekend warrior types who will bring a little variety to the inventory, because they might bring some boxes with some random stuff that might be worthwhile for people to look at. But if you're talking about really expensive table prices, you price out the weekend warrior guys, so you're only going to bring the guys who are bringing high-end enough stuff to make up for the table price. But a lot of that stuff is the same, because I can go from table to table to table and I'll see the same stuff. What's the difference then? I don't get it.
And the other issue is, like, speaking for myself, if you're specifically checklist hunting and it's becoming hard, are you going to spend all the cash so you can be basically told no? Like, I'll stay at home? Like, and because they're so expensive, it's just like, unless you hit that one item, you feel like it's a failure.
Right.
Like, if I'm 20 minutes away from it, half an hour, 45 minutes, and you have a slight fee, okay, fine. I'll go for the fun of it. But if you have, like, I calculated it out, I'd be basically $75 to $100 in before I even walked in the show. I'm like, and what am I hunting for? I like it, but not that much.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what, when I gave my breakdown, I said the only reason, in the end, it ended up working out because I was able to spend a little time chatting and hanging out with some folks that I know. We were able to kind of, because they actually came out from out of town to do that. But the only reason I was there was because my buddy who does they've got a lot of dealers that work with PSA Canada to do the submissions with them. Well, they got the PSA submissions back, and he messaged me and say, "Are you going to the CSC thing? I'm going to fly in to do that." I said, "Well, not originally, but well, if you're going to be there anyway, then let's not bother with the shipping." He goes, "Yeah, I can bring the stuff with me, and I'll bring it and I'll hand deliver it to you." I go, "Okay." That was the only reason I was there. Now, as it turned out okay. I had some fun. I came a little late because I knew without even seeing it, I knew it wasn't going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to find a million things that I want. The XFL thing was an accident, but I was like, oh, that's cool. It turned out great. But I was able to hang out. We were able to chat. And because it wasn't super busy, because the entry fee was expensive, it actually meant we had plenty of room to stand around a little bit and kind of a group of 5 or 6 of us and chat a little bit. And I also got to talk with the promoter from the Toronto Expo. But it was a very chill environment. We were in the middle of the show floor, and we were able to have a very calm conversation talking about a couple of different things for a couple of minutes in a couple of different groups in a couple of different pockets. So indirectly, it became kind of a networking thing. So I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. And I was still able to find 1 or 2 things. And but a lot of the inventory was pretty standard stuff. And at the next show, it'll be there. So it wasn't anything special that like, oh my God, I got to. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the cards for me and I was able to get it. So I put the one on Instagram, but this is the other one. So there's the out of 5.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, so this one, so that was great. No, you saw the out of 25. So there's the out of 25 and the out of 5 there too. So this is actually the other one. But the point is that these were all, I didn't need it, but I said, I want to get them graded for my PC and I'll put them in my PC. But I was like, but he was able to drop that off for me with my other stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been down there in the first place. But I made an afternoon out of it. And then I was able to hang out a little bit, went to go get dinner, had a pint, watched the football game, and then came back home. It was in town, so I was able to go from one. I didn't have to invest too much time, is my point. If I had to drive hours or whatever, it would have been a terrible deal. But I saved some shipping. We were able to figure that out and make it work. Without that stuff, I'm not going there. And I think that's the case with a lot of the folks. That's why I don't think the attendance was as crazy as it would have been otherwise. But I had some productive conversations, so it was still a win-win. Plus, I got an XFL hobby box, man. We're good. And one, he hit me away from making this a good show.
Nice. Yeah, I got a eBay auction that ends in a minute here.
Ooh, is it
Nothing I
snipe?
need, but something I can stash away.
Snipe time. All right, while you're doing that, Paul here says, I confess a piece of me dies when I have to pay for parking. Fair. I think a bigger piece would die if I had to pay tolls. Yes, yes. I get it. I get it.
Number 3 on the checklist.
Fancy.
Okay, that is correct.
So we're back here, I think, now. So now we're into the third.
Bidding on an item with good old Kenny as the COA.
Fancy.
Let's see if I can lowball snipe it.
By the way, I don't know if you follow any of them. I enjoy watching Tom Grossi and a couple of the other football guys. You won the card or won the item?
Won the item.
All right. What is the item?
Let me make sure that eBay refreshes first.
There you go. Make sure you got all your things covered.
So I collect Pro Football Hall of Fame rookies and then autographs of them. I have a rookie of every Pro Football Hall of Famer, and I am an autograph away from 16 of them. And we prospect a little bit on some of that because some of the names become expensive as hell if they hit. Can you? I'll give you a couple hints. The player is deceased, but they're not from the dead ball era. The player is a franchise quarterback, and the player is a borderline Hall of Famer.
I was going to say, I'm going to leave that to the chat because I don't know. I'm not up on that checklist. Now, when you said they were deceased, but they're not on the, sorry, you said they were deceased, but what was the other part?
They're deceased, but they're from the era where they passed.
Oh, sorry, they're not from the.
They're not from the dead. Yeah, they're not from. We run the ball every play era.
See, when you originally said that, my first thought was, if you're counting about being dead on the inside, I just assumed it's Tom Brady. He's just not in the Hall of Fame yet. Otherwise, it would have counted.
Yes.
So my bad.
I've been asked that a lot. Everyone's like, "Oh, do you have a Brady auto?" I'm like, I don't technically need one yet.
He's dead on the inside. Does that count? He's
like I will let him hate his wife or his non-wife a little bit more and sign a little bit more and let the price come down from like $1,000 to half of that, and then I'll be like, yeah, fine, here you go.
Yep.
But I'll give it a minute.
Zachary says, you actually think the XFL box hasn't been run through a CT scanner? I actually would love that. I actually think that'd be a feature. I'd be like, yeah, we looked at it. It's like, who are these guys? And they go, exactly. That'd be amazing. I think I ended up paying $40 Canadian for that hobby box. If you, I don't think there's any item that you can have that would be $40 or less that would be worth CT scanning. But you're welcome to it if that's what you want to do, man. Like, do what you got to do, Do what you got to do. I'd love it. But I think it would be unwise, is all I'm saying. All
right. Does anyone have any guesses for who the player is? Basically, this is a player that if they get in the Hall of Fame, their autograph price is going to absolutely skyrocket.
There you go.
Because they are limited. I'm not saying that it likely happens. I'm saying if it happens, I covered my butt on it.
Ben Ryan says, I'm surprised no one has tried the virtual card show, a way to shop and buy cards from a dealer to show in real time. No one would ever have to miss a show. During the pandemic, we had that. There were a couple of virtual card shows. We had one here. We had one in Canada that was organized by the same guy, same promoter as the Toronto Expo, and it was literally the virtual expo. And then I think stateside they tried one too. And what they did is the software they used. So just kind of speaking specifically of what you're talking about with the virtual card show thing. So what they did is they had software that would allow you to go into rooms. So I'm putting that in quotation marks, rooms. The rooms were individual dealers with individual live streams. So you have the overall platform, and then you'd actually be able to go from dealer to dealer and shift over from one live stream to another. Each dealer could set up their live stream however they wanted it. You'd have the chat, you'd have direct messaging, you could pin a thing that would let people see your inventory. The really organized ones, the ones that were smart, had like photo buckets and things set up with images of the cards. So they could show you a card. Yes, you could ask, hey, can you show me whatever? But then also you could be like, hey, by the way, we also have the scans here on the photo bucket or whatever. You can open it up and take a look at high res scans of a bunch of the cards, especially the bigger cards. And then you could DM them directly and do the negotiation just back and forth. And if you had specific questions, they would literally be on a live stream like this and they'd engage with you. And you could be like, hey, curious, do you have any, dead NFL Hall of Famers? Yeah, actually, I got some in this box. And they could go grab the box and go through some of it and they'd literally talk to you about it and other people could chat. So it was a bunch of live streams. You'd be able to go from person to person to person. And you could make payments through PayPal or whatever you're going to do. And then be like, yep, make sure you include your shipping address and I'll ship it out to you. But that was a virtual card show. For the dealers that were well organized, it actually turned out all right. Some of them did well. Some of them actually made decent money considering, and they basically were set up on a couple of days with the live streams. So the platform held up surprisingly well.
All right, I'll give one more hint on the item.
All right.
The player is a former MVP, and it was not a fluke.
Wasn't there a virtual national? I don't think there was like the virtual expo. No, the national didn't go that far. The expo, Menzie was able to get a bunch of dealers on board for the virtual expo. That one actually turned out all right. Like I said, it was interesting. And one other thing they did that I thought was smart, one of the rooms, is they actually had presentations. So they would do some live stream presentation that people could go to the virtual stage. I'm putting that in quotation marks. And you could check out like basically a panel. And they would do live stream panels. So for all that stuff, it actually worked all right. I thought it was a decent idea. I think I bought a couple of things from the virtual expo from Meet. Yeah. And some of the guys were well organized. They had their stuff all set up so they could show people things, talk through them. And then if somebody bought something, they could put it aside and immediately have it ready to ship out. So that's the thing. I don't think it was a bad idea. For a little while, I think Menzie was thinking about maybe having the virtual expo as a supplement. But in the end, I think it was easier for them to just stick to the regular card show. But at least for a little while, it was an idea. They kicked around the thought of doing it. And the thing with a virtual expo like that, then you don't have to travel. So it meant that U.S. folks could be ordering stuff right there, just like anybody else. Pay it in PayPal, make sure you pay for the shipping and whatever. You can have your stuff. Made a lot of sense.
It works out if you're organized. If you're not organized, you're screwed.
Yeah, and there were a couple of guys like that too. There were some that literally, I saw one where the dealer, it became kind of a running joke. The dealer would literally walk away from the live stream and you'd be like seeing the back wall of a shop. And literally there'd be nobody there to engage you. People would go in like, hey, I have a question, whatever. And literally there was nobody there. He was like off doing something else. And I was sitting there like, I'm glad you dedicated some time and energy into this. I'm like, all right, man, whatever. Made me laugh.
All right. So the item I bought was a Steve McNair rookie autograph.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
Paid $9. All in all.
That's pretty good.
So if he makes it in the Hall of Fame, which I don't think is likely, but it could easily happen. If he gets in, you're looking at 100, just because he died so young and he wasn't in the era where you had one autograph per blaster, and like he didn't sign a lot. So it's a little, it's a speculation play.
That's fair. Well, that's kind of the catch-22 of the current era right now. People who buy boxes want the hits in the boxes. So they demand more memorabilia, more autographs. But then at the same time, down the road, if you're like, oh man, these autographs aren't worth as much as I thought they would be. Well, the thing is, there's a bunch of different options. It's not even whether the card is made well or not, or the autograph is good or not. The autograph could be flawless. The card could look good. But there's multiple years and lots of options where they may have already signed a bunch of stuff. So if you're the buyer, do you want all of it? If you do, then maybe it matters. But if not, then you're going to pick and choose the one you really like.
most of the guys who collect an autograph of every Hall of Famer, they want nice ones, and they kind of stop somewhere between 25 to 50 before they get the whole checklist. But they just want a nice autograph of Namath, Unitas, Brown. They want a nice autograph. I'm of the opposite. I would rather have an autograph of everyone. And if I get, say, shitty ones of all the players, that's actually fine because I know that they're only going to sign more. And the deceased ones, I'm like, I would actually rather have the deceased ones just have an autograph than have a nice one of the guys who are not deceased.
There you go.
But it is what it is.
I'd agree with that. Zach says, I just don't get I don't get the kind of whatnot model. Watching a guy go through cards, hoping he realizes something I'm interested in. Card shows I'm walking and flipping through boxes quickly. So I think I'm not a big whatnot guy, but I think if you're going to do it for boxes and stuff, it can make sense. Whatever, it's breaks. It's a simple enough idea. But for the folks that sell singles, the ones who do it well, and again, it's not my format. I haven't bought anything from whatnot, but if the ones who have done it well successfully are the ones who can react to their audience. It was similar to that virtual expo thing. It's not enough to just be there and just stand around and wait. Sometimes you got to make action happen yourself. You're engaging with the audience and be like, all right, what are any of you interested in? Like I use the example of the NFL Hall of Famers, whatever. But if Paul happened to walk by and somebody asked that question, he'd be like, well, I doubt it, but these are the ones I'm looking for. And if they did happen to have them, well, there you go. Maybe it initiates a conversation. Maybe they make a deal, maybe they don't make a deal. But you got a better chance if you're asking questions and actually engaging with the audience. And if you have something and maybe can't come to a deal, that builds the momentum. Because then all of a sudden other people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I can ask questions and get more information. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. Do you have this? Do you have one of these or whatever? And that's what happened. There were a few of them that were smart, and they basically turned it into like a regular live stream. But it had that buying, selling element as well. They basically said, okay, guys, they literally invited some of us to come on there. We were just chatting and BSing. And when they were doing that, they were doing deals on the side. They were still chatting with us, but they were still, because a lot of people don't want to give their financial information. They don't want to negotiate in a main chat. In a direct messaging chat, they're okay with that. They'll be like, okay, look, I can do $100 on this or whatever. And they would do that deal. But in the meantime, the host is still hosting, but they'd be chatting with this person and doing a little bit of both. If you can multitask, it allowed them to still make deals while still providing an entertaining kind of panel discussion. And for some of those, we did that. We actually sat there and had panel discussions. I did that with Amit and those guys a little bit as well. It's like we were literally sitting there having almost a podcast or a live stream episode on the Virtual Expo platform. And in the meantime, Amit was making deals. So it was a win-win.
I think it's really funny how they show the ad. I'm not sure if you see the same one I do, but it's the guy who's says, hey, how many cards can we get for 100 on whatnot? And they show a Christian McCaffrey, like 4th year, 5th year, mosaic green, not numbered. And they're like, can we hold this down for $21? I'm like, dude, what the hell? This is like 50 cents. Like, what are you doing? And it's just like, oh, we build the excitement. I'm like, oof, no.
The model for some of those folks, because some folks did very well on whatnot. The thing was, there would be people, because the auctions, if you have whatnot auctions, and some people would create those, if it's whatnot auctions, they would have the instantaneous FOMO because the countdown clock would be so fast that people wouldn't necessarily have the time to look up comps. So they'd be like guessing. That seems like a $20 card. Are you sure? Did you actually check?
The other one that they show around here is, all right, I'm going to hit the card shop, and if I don't have it, I'm going to hop on whatnot and see if they have it. And it's like an autograph of a baseball prospect that I've never heard of. And not that, I'm a baseball fan and know everybody, but I've at least heard of the guys who can play, and it's like you're looking in Whatnot for an autograph. Like what? Like okay, I get the concept of it, but change your ad to be like relevant player. Like I wish you could get some of the casino aspect out of the hobby.
I think it'd be tough to do. We actually, since you bring it up, we can have this conversation here for a minute while we're checking out. Like I said, folks, we're just chatting, hanging out, watching the game, but we're also BSing. So here's the thing: the casino aspect is something that a lot of people bring up. You're not the first one, but a lot of people talk about it. So I'm going to take the angle on this that I'm going to ask questions. So I'll ask questions to you in the chat, and I'll ask questions to Paul as we're watching. So the casino aspect, I'll again lead with, I'm a person who on my channels, I do multiple channels while I talk about this stuff. I literally did I do some box breaks on the wrestling card channel. But the first thing I do is I made a video where I told you everything that was wrong with the series and how feast or famine it is and how high risk it is. I literally made a video, a cautionary video, to inform everyone. They go, you're buying this at your own risk. In this case, don't try this at home. I know what I'm doing because I've literally told you what the odds are. I'm explaining the odds to you. I'm willing to play because I don't mind a little gamble. I enjoy it for me. Because sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And this is kind of a philosophical question. A lot of people are very risk averse. They're worried about, well, what if I lose? It's like, I'm a little bit of the angle where, well, if you can't lose, then it's not very fun. It actually it's not really a gamble if it's literally zero risk, then it's not gambling. It's just not, you can't even call it winning because at that point it's like, yeah, if it's net neutral, it's net neutral. So there's got to be an element. The only way you can quote unquote win, somebody has to lose. Because otherwise it's just not, you can't have both things at the same time. Because if you buy a box and you pull like, $1,000 card in $100 box or whatever. Well, the average box is not going to have $100 because it can't. If it did, then it should be $100 and the box would be higher. So it doesn't make sense.
Yep, I have no issue with the. I somewhat fall in the Filmington camp on it. I have no issue if somebody wants to have fun. You're going to have some fun at, all sorts of things. But when you have a return of value that's minus 90%, or that's a 90% loss expectancy, and you're paying multiple hundreds for low-end hobby boxes, it's like, no thanks. I'll move on. Thank you.
Yeah, I think your point that you're talking about, I think is a fair one. And I think what you're talking about is that the problem is that the gap between the floor and the ceiling has gotten too big.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if the floor, like let's say you $100 hobby box, and let's say a bad box is $45, $50. Not great, but at the end of the day, whatever, 50%, that's your floor. Like the absolute worst box in creation, the worst box you could have gotten, 50%. Okay, you know what, that sucks, but it's not the end of the world. But where you're losing 90% value on it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And the issue we've got right now for some of these products is that the ceiling on this hypothetical $100 box is like $200. I'm like, wait, so my ceiling is only 2x, but my floor is like $10. That's not good. That's actually really bad. The gap between them is really high, and even if you win, you didn't really win in the aggregate.
It better be a 50% hit, and it's like a 1% hit ratio. Like, no. Like, if somebody wants cards and they're not sure what they want, and they want to get like a repack mystery from dealers at a show, that's okay. You can spend $5, $20, $100, whatever it is. You at least have an ROI, or an ROV that's at least not getting screwed over. Like, okay, fine. But I'm just not a fan of it when you're basically have no shot to win before you even start.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That part I would agree with. And I think that's basically the problem that a lot of these products are having. And I talk about the Upper Deck one only because I do the hockey and I do the AEW and all that. So I know those products really well. 4th and 5. So I know those products really well. And even for AEW, where I've actually bought and sold cards successfully. And I know a lot of collectors for some of these characters. So I know where I can find some of these. I can find homes for some of these cards. So that's helpful. But even for those ones, it's like the newest product, that Black Diamond, part of the reason I was so keen on making sure that I gave the video explaining the risk factor on that one. And it's happened almost immediately. It's played out exactly the way I said when I talked about the ceiling being not high enough to offset the risk. MJF is still probably the most popular character that you can pull. But even some of his autographs, like memorabilia autographs, some of them I've seen sitting. There's one that I think was sitting on eBay at $450. The box was $300 at release. If I pull an MJF memorabilia autograph, I should be getting 2-3 times what a box costs or more. At $450 it was sitting. You can't even get 1.5 times a box price for what should be a great hit, a really good hit of the best guy. That's rough. That's you're dead in the water then. What hope do you have? Brendan here says, I know the answer ends up as it doesn't affect my hobby habits. You do you? Yeah, and I think that's the thing. If you do, if you take advantage of it, I think that's okay. If you understand what's going on, I think that's all right. And I know you got a follow-up comment. I'll get to in a second. Good evening, Ham. The only trouble with it is what it is. Philosophy is eventually they burn you and you find yourself with the pitchfork and torches crowd. I guess I don't know about that one. It's eventually they burn you. Even in that box, if you watch that box break, I was opening through the cards, and as soon as I saw that Miro was the autograph on there, I was like, this box is dead. I knew like this box, forget it. There's no recovering this one. But if you listen to the video, it's like I'm not sitting there freaking out about it because it's like, no, as soon as I saw the Miro card, I was like, yep, if that's going to be the best hit for this one, this box is dead in the water. It happens. Zach here says, we're still looking at hobby boxes like they're being sold for personal breaks. The prices have propped up for group breaks. As well, it doesn't make sense, plain and simple to me. So I think for most of the products, yes. I don't even think I'll be honest, I don't think Black Diamond's good for group breaks either. I've watched some group breaks where it still doesn't work. Like that's the problem. I think they need to go back to the drawing board on that series entirely. There are some that are very good for group breaks, some that are designed well for that. But even this one, there's a reason a lot of the singles haven't made it out yet because I don't think enough of the product getting open, even with group breaks. And that should tell you something. When group breaks can't clear through the inventory, and we're not seeing the singles get out there, what does that tell you? It means the price point is wrong, and the design is incorrect. They should have done it differently. But we'll see.
So did they actually force the purchase on that, or no? From like the hobby shop or whatever?
On a lot of them, yeah. I did a video specifically where I wanted to talk about this because I saw that a different content creator had actually done like a year in review. So they did a year in review in December, at the end of last year. And in the year in review, they had themselves, who was a collector, and they had 2 other collectors involved in there, but one of the collectors also works at a card shop. And the 4th person was actually the owner of the card shop. So the card shop is RBI Crew 7, who's based, I don't remember where they're based out of, but anyway, so they do a lot of wrestling cards. That's one of their specialties because they really like it. And they actually sponsor. So now at the National, there is a wrestling card collectors event now, the last couple of years. The main event, I think is called, for wrestling cards. So they participated in some of the stuff at the National the last 2 go-rounds. They were actually one of the sponsors. So obviously they're supporting wrestling cards and that portion of the hobby, niche as it is, they're supporting it. So those guys, Paul, are indexed more towards being open to any products that are coming out in the wrestling card space because there isn't that much. So they're supportive of whatever's out there. They were supportive of what Panini did. They were even willing to give a lot of credit to Leaf for the one product that they released last year for wrestling cards because they tried their best with what they had and they put on a decent product. It wasn't crazy, but it was decent. The only one that they gave an F to, so they were doing letter grades. The only one they gave an F to was Upper Deck. And Upper Deck and a lot of the companies have a strict policy where internet sales, if you don't have the right type of dealership license, you can't give the price point. You can't say online sales unless you're authorized online dealer. If you are, then that's okay. But if you're not, then you're not allowed to be doing that. But what happened with those guys is, there you go, Derrick Henry taking off. As strict as they are, the owner of a card shop went on to that thing, which was publicly available. Obviously, I saw it and I was able to clip it. And he basically gave Upper Deck an F and said, "We have never made any money on any AEW product Upper Deck has ever made." And my point was that right now they're not big fans of what AEW is doing as a product in general. However, I said my point was in the video, they're an LCS. They don't have to like it. If it makes money, they'll carry it. If it makes money, they'll sell it because there's still money to be made and they're interested in the genre. So if AEW was an amazing product and people loved it and it sold like hotcakes, they'll say it's a good product. Why wouldn't they? It doesn't matter what they think about what Tony Khan's doing. That's irrelevant. The question is, does the product sell well? If the answer is yes, you're selling it. If the answer is no, then you can slag it. But the point is, they're willing to publicly slag it. That's a message. Upper Deck should be taking no. At that point, the message to Upper Deck is like, if they're willing to say the quiet part out loud now, they clearly don't care. They're like they said, like, if I didn't, I would rather not carry it. So a lot of distributors are forcing their hand and forcing them to take it. But I've seen a couple of dealers who have basically thrown themselves in front of the bus and said, "We can't take it anymore. Don't send us any." So I think a lot of ones are still getting stuck with it, to your question. But I think some of them have been like, "Seriously, dude, we can't. We can't make any money on this. We don't want it. Keep it."
Oh,
So I don't
here
know what's
goes
winding
Hill.
up.
Oh, here goes Hill.
Yep. Well, now Baltimore's doing kind of the thing we were talking about earlier. Baltimore's style should be kind of a ball control style. The conditions are right. If you can get the running game going here and have a couple of drives, there's still plenty of time. But you're gonna have to. Play this style. It's a one-score game basically, so you can do that. There you go. What time you got on your feed?
I got Henry hitting the 5-yard line right now.
Okay, so I'm slightly ahead of you by a couple seconds.
Yeah.
MetaZoo is a good example of a bad product. Didn't sell well, and it's back for another try. I don't mind you trying a couple of times if you modify it. If something doesn't work, or if something doesn't work right away, you don't always have to give up on a product. But if it doesn't work, then tweak it, figure out why it didn't work, and change something. I think the problem with a lot of these card dealers, there you go. I think a couple of these card dealers is that the lag time in producing these products is so long, even if they make adjustments, it's taking too long. So by the time the adjustment might have helped, like you're already a year behind. So now like the marketplace has changed. That's why I use that example of the MJF thing. MJF was a super hot character that was the best seller. You know, if their product came out that for Upper Deck AEW, the MJF autograph or whatever would be like the highest selling item that you could get, or a great insert with his name on it was gold. You could sell it. You can still sell it, and there's still interest, but it's quieter than it was. So the price point is starting to drop accordingly. It's just not. It's not as easy as to sell as it once was. All right, interesting. But yeah, I think a lot of these manufacturers need to start figuring out a way to incorporate the feedback that they're getting faster. Because if you have to wait a year, all right, we figured out what the problem is and we'll fix it in the next series. You mean next year? That's not good. That's not gonna fix your problem.
Especially when you only have like 3 AEW releases. It's like you can kill it off because so few people collect it. If your price is so high that even collectors are like, no. I mean, you're like you can kill it with one product.
You can, and but all you have to know. So they have 3 per year. Last year they didn't even get the 3 out. Allure is supposed to come out this week upcoming. That was supposed to be the 3rd 2024 release. And if it comes to pass, we'll have it at the end of January. That's not great. It should have been out much, much earlier. And the thing is, Allure is the first Allure they did was, I think, a consensus is the last Allure set they did was the best set they've done. It was the right combination of you got chromium cards, the design looked good, the inserts made sense. They had some autographs in there. They had some chases. Some of the inserts were nice. So you had all the things you were looking for. And for the most part, top to bottom is the most solid release that they've had, top to bottom. And I was like, if it was me, I would almost want that to be the flagship because it's a solid product. It was actually good. And for the price point, it was fair. So you had all those things going for you. And now you're finally about to release the second one. Great. But now it's been a while. We were waiting on that one a long time. It would have been nice to have it out earlier. I just don't know what it's going to look like this time around. We'll see. Brandon Ryan says, sound like if we want to put out that much product, they'll have to rely on AI. I don't think AI is going to fix the product release schedule. Unless AI intends to do the printing. I don't think the issue is designing it. I think the issue is actually getting it out the door. And to be fair, if you guys see it, I'm looking forward to maybe talking about it once the release happens. I think it's supposed to be the next couple of weeks as well. 2025 Topps WWE Chrome is going to be the first one under the renewed Fanatics license with WWE. Half the damn cars look like they were designed by AI. The design looks AI.
I'll be back in a minute here. Hold on.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, so we'll see if they decide to use it. A lot of that looks like really generic graphics. If I had punched some stuff into AI, I bet I could have come up with that Topps Chrome design on some of those inserts. So it looks like they're using some AI. If they're not, then I don't know what they're doing, but it looks like it. Okay, now let me pose the question here to you guys in the chat. So now, 2-point game. They didn't get the 2-point conversion. We're just approaching the end of the third quarter. So we got a quarter left. How you guys feeling? So can the Ravens come here and take it in the fourth quarter, or can the Bills hang on? I pose the question to you. And I do appreciate that at least it's staying close. Yeah, replacing the artist with AI that can put out the images faster than humans is a no-brainer. Well, it is, except half the designs look like garbage. I don't know, like, let's put it this way. It'll improve the speed, but if the cards look like crap, if you got it out faster, well, great. I don't want it, so keep it. Like, some of them look really ugly. I wouldn't pay for that, but they're getting it out on time, so I guess thumbs up. Kudos, good for you. They look like garbage, but got the door on time. I guess it depends on what you value. It's a 50-50 on this game. May come down to a turnover. It's starting to feel that way, yeah. It stayed close. QC doesn't factor in now. Oh, for the most part, no. Yeah. There's just something to be said, though, for the aesthetic. The cards, I think, still need to hold up at least a little bit. Just a matter of, I guess, what the preference is for the buyer. The buyer is going to determine it. People are still going to chase the Rock Auto. I think for this series, it's not going to matter. They're chasing the Rock Auto either way. That's a big chase. And some of the other chases they've included in there are good. Like you said, it's just like it's been all year. The Bills D needs to learn how to tackle it. Josh Allen will put up 2 more TDs for the win. All right.
Let's hope so.
It's bold.
Yep, I had to get up because one of the things that sucks with the pox is the disease basically attacks your joints. So I can't really flex my knee without it hurting. And you start sitting there for a long time. You're like, ow, 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 ow.
Gotcha.
I had to go out and get a little rest for my foot.
That's fair. No, you do what you got to do.
It sucks. I feel like Eric.
I was going to say, that sounds an awful lot like an Eric problem. Yeah. Zach here says it would be interesting, the timeline of when they start making a product and when it comes out. So all I'll say, and I'll cage it this way. A birdie tells me that they've been soliciting feedback and getting information that may if it comes to pass, come into play. So I'll use Upper Deck as an example. They've been soliciting feedback and getting background that may come into play for a product that wouldn't come out until 2026. And that's at this point. And even at the end of December. So if you're already in the planning stages or getting feedback or information, stuff that you're not going to incorporate until the 2026 product, you're basically talking a year lead time on most of these products minimum. I want to see the tops in hand. I think it's okay from design. It could definitely be better. I'd be more interested when they do a Dynasty Wrestling product. I think that's fair. I think that'll be interesting. And I think they will, to be honest. I think they will incorporate that. And yeah, the in-hand thing is always, that's why, so to be clear, I'm looking at the mock-ups like everybody else. You have to reserve judgment until you see it in hand, because sometimes there's a foil that looks different in hand. Sometimes some of the design elements look better. I think since it's a chromium product, though, and it's not about foils necessarily, it's kind of the design is the design. I don't think the design's going to prove that much in hand, but you're right. You should get it in hand to give it the definitive conclusion on it. The Dynasty type product, I think, could be interesting, because if you get some premium memorabilia in there, I think that could be pretty good. So I agree that would be make it more interesting.
Yep, I still want to see a card that's got a thumbtack in it.
A thumbtack? So that would have been probably something Panini would have to do. Get in a really thick piece in there.
I mean, obviously with the landscape, technically Upper Deck is the only one that can release that, but that's an if you know thing.
Yeah. Well, I think they'd have to seal it inside of the things. It's like, no, you're not letting the thumbtack out. You got to seal that in 2 sides of acetate on the top bottom. Compress that together. Leave it in there.
I'm saying that they don't allow it in certain promotions.
Yeah. Brendan here says, not to beat a dead horse, but the AI will over time will get better. Yes, there will be iterations of it. Yes. I can see a day when the industry said, I hope not. At that point, I'll just collect the old shit. I don't want the AI stuff still. There's a certain element of it that it's still going to feel a certain way, but we'll see. We'll see. Like at that point, if you need to use AI, quote unquote, to make it more efficient, like that means the cards are dead. There's no point. Then just don't make the cards. Get over it. Let's move on to something else. Maybe it's time for Beanie Babies too.
Carlos is promoting NBA Top Shot on the program right now.
Oh, listen. Top Shot is vastly superior to AI. Let's go NFTs. There's still time.
I remember having that discussion with somebody. They're like, no, this is the first release and there's a limited number and yada, yada, yada. And I was about 5 to 10 away from every Hall of Fame rookie at the time. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, I'm going to scoop up these rookies and they're going to look cheap in a year. And mine just stayed the same, but Top Shot went down 99%. So I feel good about that.
You know what's the funniest thing about the Top Shot thing, though? Like, in all seriousness, you know what was the best part about that whole deal?
That they tried to perform?
Well, no, even the people that, for that brief moment, who could have made money because their stuff went up a lot. Even for those folks, the problem was the company that ran it couldn't get their withdrawals processed on time, so they missed the window. So like some of them actually on paper could have made a tremendous amount of money had they been able to cash it out. So they're like at the casino, they won and they're trying to cash out the chips, but the cashier says, yeah, come back later. It's like, wait a minute. No, yeah, keep playing. Don't worry. Keep playing. No, I don't want to keep playing. I'm ready to cash out. I got it. I got the chips. Let me cash out.
Yeah.
It was just very funny. I enjoyed it. All the timelines would be interesting. How long do they work on design? How long does it take for the printers to print a high volume product? Yeah. Sick of hearing how AI is going to take most of our job. Listen, Zach, I've been pitching for AI to take my job for years. It's like, I got no pretenses here. It's like, do you think I do my job because I want to do my job? No. If AI can do my job, I'm good. It sounds great.
Yeah, but the problem when you see the timeline is that you have to see every third hour is like 1990 Pro Set remake, 1991 Fleer remake, 1989 Tops. They're still printing that shit.
Well, so see, what I want, Paul, is I want AI to take over the design like Brandon wants. But I want AI to be like, we have designed a set that is the height of design perfection. And every set becomes 1991 Flair. That's all there is. It's 1991 Flair. It's like the AI determines that that was the height of design perfection. And that's all you get. Yellow borders for everyone.
I mean, the greatest set ever made might as well be out of like an AI because it's all in outer space.
Look at that. I enjoy the paycheck my job provides, though. Listen, the problem is there's a consequence. So that's the point I'm trying to get at, Zach. Look, I want AI to take my job. The problem is then I still have to pay my bills. See, the issue isn't the job. The issue is the bills, Zach. The problem is we're only treating the symptom. We're not treating the disease. The disease is that the bank still expects me to pay my mortgage. The heating company still expect me to pay my bills. The electricity company expects me to pay my bills. The problem is all of y'all. If y'all would leave me alone and let AI take my job, everybody wins.
I thought we were going to fight over that one for a minute.
AI takes over and it's nothing but 87 Topps throwbacks. Yeah. Bills, I need money for sports car. I know. Wild.
We're not going to fight over the greatest set ever being in outer space.
Listen, we let you have your fantasy. We know that this is your dream. It's solidly in the top 80. Like, maybe top 85. Solidly in there. Because I know for a fact, I can tell you, Paul, in football, there's one reason that will never be the greatest set. There is not a single Josh Rosen in that checklist. None. How can you even consider it legit if you don't have the chosen Rosen in it? You fix the gaping hole, and
I still think that's the coolest base set ever designed.
Yeah. But Ryan says you might get a bailout of the mortgage if the U.S. Banks get it. No, dude, you guys are worse. You guys had a whole financial crisis because of that mortgage. Do you really want to go down that road again? Look up 2008. I know you were there, but look it up again. And if I wanted to bail myself out of mortgage again, look up 2008. Plenty of people bailed out of their mortgages. That was the problem. The problem is that plenty of people bailed out of their mortgages.
Yeah, they gave out mortgages to people that should have never gotten them in the first place.
And correct, exactly. But the point is, Paul.
Great.
The point is, Paul. Those people bailed out of their mortgages, and that was an issue. The issue was these other guys were relying on them continuing to pay somehow. And then when that didn't happen, it was a problem. Who has the best chance to beat KC? That's who should be rooting for. So I think. So I don't know. We've got the. So Paul, let me get you. I asked the question earlier today, but let me ask. Obviously, for hilarity purposes, your team anti-Lamar. But between these two teams, which one do you actually think matches up better with KC? So in a matchup against KC, which one of these two teams matches up better to actually give them problems?
I don't know. Because I can... The Chiefs have because they have like one good cornerback, like you can kind of take away the best receiver. But if the Ravens don't have Flowers, then he wouldn't be matched up on him anyways, just because he plays in the middle of the field. But you're also somewhat running into like the teeth of it with Jones and Bolton, and you somewhat want to spread the field. Like it's kind of, I can go either side on that one.
All right. Mike was saying the Bills beat them already this year. And the thing is, I agree with that. I don't put too much stock in a regular season win when they get a rematch in a playoff. If they go to the AFC Championship, like almost, I'm not saying throw it out, but you've got some time. You may have personnel differences. You may have injuries versus not injuries. There's a lot of components of it that change between the playoff game and the regular one, because sometimes some teams do really dumb and sloppy things in the playoffs, and then suddenly they clean it up in the regular season, and then suddenly they clean it up in the playoffs. I've seen it. So the help me out on this one, Paul. I'm trying to remember. So in the run to Super Bowl 45, when they were going there, who was the running back? Was it Grant, who suddenly like went crazy in the playoffs a little bit? Starks, thank you. So in the regular season, though, there wasn't anything necessarily resembling that performance. But in the playoff run, there are guys who will step up. Is the point that I'm getting at. And you can't look at the regular season and be like, that's a direct link to what happens in the playoffs. Sometimes it is the guys that you expect, and sometimes it's like, I had no idea you were going to do that, and here you are, and now it works. So sometimes it's not the obvious. So that's where it gets a little interesting. I like that play call. That's pretty good. That's a fun one.
I have it as being 3rd and half a yard.
All right. So I think you'll, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was after the Henry run, right?
So you said I would be a fan of it, so it must be like 4th and 3.
No, I was talking about the Henry run when he got the direct snap and ran.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
I just enjoyed it because I was like, I just enjoy when Henry gets to run straight downhill and knock into some guys. I've enjoyed Henry's season this year.
Oh, it is like 4th and they give him that first down. I don't think they should have.
I'm seeing 4th and 1 right now on my end with 10:22.
That looks right. It would be, boy, I would love to see what the analytics technically say here.
They went for it.
Looks like they got it.
Looks like that to me. Yep. You just throw a bunch of guys at the problem. I don't blame them. I like it. At least they're trying to make it interesting. So I think we're actually approaching the high end of so for those of you that actually predicted a score, I think we're starting to approach the high end of your scores. So if we get another, I want to say somebody said 24-22 or something like that. So one of you might still be in play. I forget what the order is though.
I said like 41-38, which obviously isn't going to happen.
Yeah, there was a prediction, a couple predictions here that had both teams in the 20s. I want to say that. See if I can go back here and find it. See if I can scroll back. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, so you had the really high scoring one. Let's see if there's anybody else. I know there were a couple of other ones.
I think we went like 4 for 4 on exciting this weekend.
It was a much better week, yeah. Especially compared to the first week. The first week was horrific. There was definitely better games this time around. And the teams played much better. Oh, come on. Oh, no. So let me know if you want to blame that one on Lamar.
Totally.
that's kind of what I figured. Somewhere off of this is Bob was like, damn you, Paul. It's like he caught the ball. He dropped it himself.
If Lamar would have thrown it.
If Lamar had put super glue on the ball before throwing it, it would have been fine.
That's all on Lamar Jackson. What's he doing?
Sammy Baugh back in the day put adhesive on the side of the ball so the receiver could catch it. It would stick to his body.
The other thing that pisses me off about that is the fact that I own the guy who forced the fumble in fantasy. And because it's the playoffs, I don't get to count it for points. Because that's one of the high-scoring plays. You get the tackle, the forced fumble, and the recovery. Like, that's one of the ones that scores higher than touchdowns.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. I think Bobby had a 24-21. I think so. I thought it was something like that. I thought that somebody had it like in that range. So at least, we're like halfway there. But yeah, so kind of to your point, Paul, I think this weekend we definitely got better quality overall games. So it was better than some of the stuff we'd been dealing with up until this point. And I appreciate the fact that at least this one's still close. So now, and we've still got plenty of time. So I don't know. They could do a couple lead changes if these guys can get the ball going a little bit. They got a chance. We'll see.
What do you think the odds are that Bobbles responds to that?
Well, I don't know. How profane did you go? Or is that in the Discord?
What a terrible throw by Lamar. He should know better. Let's see if I get a response. Like a clear.
See, I know for a fact. I gave Brandon the link to this, and I go, if I was in his place, I wouldn't go show up either. It's like, stay in the darkness with Aaron Rodgers. It's wise. It's wise. I don't blame him. Here we go. So Zach says, I'm glad I'm not a passionate fan. The loser is going to feel bad. Lions fan, that has to hurt. Well, on the other hand, though, it's look, my favorite thing. So I don't know. Did you catch the clip, Paul, that I played of Eric's prediction?
Yes.
Yeah. So my favorite part about it is as soon as he said it, I'm like, oh, this is going to turn out badly for you. As soon as he said it, I was like, if something happens, this will come back. I will bring it back. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I know. I'm friends with someone that's a lifelong Lions fan, and he took it better than I was expecting.
Well, to be fair, Paul, realistically, if you're a Lions fan,
you're
kind of used to pain. Yeah, exactly. You're kind of used to pain, though, at this point. Like, generally speaking, bad things happen. Whatever the bad thing is, generally speaking, that's what happens. So if you're if you're a Lions fan who like lost his mind over the result and the way that game played out, then you must be new here, because there's no way you could have been a longtime Lions fan and not have seen the possibility of horror.
The other thing is most Lions fans are also Michigan fans, and they won it all in college last year, and they had a below average year, but they beat Ohio State. So it's kind of like these guys can be happy for a minute. Like, they kind of don't need the Lions unless you're like a Michigan State fan and then you just hate life. But most Lions fans that I know are also Michigan fans.
I'll buy some a reprieve. That's a good question, Mike. I gotta look. But I assure you, if Eric also got this one wrong, whatever happens, by Friday, it'll come back around. But the Lions one I enjoyed, because he didn't just pick the Lions for the game. He picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl. That's what made it better. He skipped. I only asked you a prediction for the one game. That's all I asked you. You didn't have to commit. I didn't force you to commit all the way to the end. Time to hit the clock and drive the field. That would probably be wise. Yeah, I'll double check, Mike. We'll find out. By Friday, we'll know for sure. If you got it wrong, don't worry. It'll come up too. I have the clip of the one, but I can whip up a second clip if we need to. There you go. You're trying to set yourself up to fight with Dustin too, huh? I see what's going on. So have you? At this point, I'm surprised you're not like researching additional ways to reference the Saints salary cap, because you're like, is there a way I can angle? This is like a Skip Bayless move to find a way to angle this into the Saints salary cap.
They're so screwed. Like, everyone's like, oh, you can't, like, the salary cap's not real. You can just move the money. And it's like, yeah, but eventually it becomes like a credit card where if you don't pay it off, the money just kicks over. Like, did you know that the Packers still had Devondre Campbell on salary this year? Like, ouch.
Right.
And eventually, if you start kicking 75 mil or 100 of it going forward, like you just have no shot because you're going to have somebody humming and they're going to have money and you're going to be sitting there like being like, hey, our 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round rookies, they all play meaningful snaps because we don't have anyone else. And they just, if you don't have any cap space, like you're screwed. Like you can only hit on so many rookies.
No, I get that. Look, but look, just so we're all on the same page here. The reason I get a kick out of it is because it is the Peter Griffin versus the chicken meme. Number one. And number two, the New Orleans Saints, outside of one pity Super Bowl, the football gods gave him one. Outside of that one pity Super Bowl, the entire history of the franchise is you could literally have folded the franchise and no one would have missed them. So it's like, so like arguing about a salary cap situation right now, they could, them not winning the Super Bowl for the next 150 years isn't going to change anything. The majority of the franchise history is basically that.
Well, I don't think that they, or at least the people that have authority, they didn't realize that it was over when Breeze hung them up. And I am the world's largest Jameis Winston fan, and I'm like, yeah, you're not going to win with this. And they're still like, no. If this goes right and this goes right and this goes right, I'm like, no. If that goes right, that goes right, and that goes right, you're going like 7-9. And now they're like, Dustin will sit there and be like, yeah, but if this thing happens, I'm like, no. Why don't you just want to puke the cap situation out and completely suck and just reload the situation? Or do you just constantly want to kick the can and go 4 wins or 5 wins every year? Like, I just don't get the thought process behind it.
I think most fandom doesn't involve a thought process. So that's kind of a thing.
Like,
and Jeff here, not to mention Eric cursed the Lions live on air. Jeff, Eric cursed the Lions this year. And I think that was, let me think here. The clip of us going through it was the Friday. Yeah, that was on the Friday live. So yeah, so he cursed the Lions on air last year and this year. He's 2 for 2. There's an ongoing war. I don't know what happened. I don't know what Michigan or Detroit did to Eric, but he's decided, I have the hex powers, I shall use it on you. I have no answers. I can't help you. Yep. Of course, Cuddles knows he's part owner of the Packers. That is true. Bobby says, I was close if it ends at this score. Yes, you are the closest right now if it ends at this score. But James is like, Vinny Testavero, you can count on 1 interception per game. See, the thing though is that I do wish you're his biggest fan, but for comedy purposes, I am a fan of famous Jameis. I would love for Jameis to find something. It'd just be great comedy. I would enjoy it. Like, I want this for him. I would like him to have this one. I want him to have his Sam Darnold moment minus the seeing ghost at the end. Give him 1 year. 1 year where the pieces come together for once, and then some team makes a very foolish decision and it doesn't work again. But it would be great for 1 year if it's just like, there you go. And for like the only time somebody makes money on Jameis cards. Oh my God, we did it.
But the reason, like, if you're the Saints and you don't have money and then you do have Winston, why do you then go all the way out to get Carr and you still have to pay? Winston was on their salary cap this year. The Saints, like, if that's going to be your plan, and you have a maxed out credit card, see it through. Like, it might work, it might not, but see it through. Like, it just some of the decisions that NFL franchises make just absolutely boggle my mind.
Yeah, right now is a very bad era for that. There's some teams that like make some bizarre decisions that I don't get, and they keep doing it. which is weird.
Like the Giants. Okay. I get that maybe when you picked second overall, maybe you saw that Darnold wasn't what you thought he was. Rosen was going to end up with what happened. Okay, fine. I don't think anyone foresaw Josh Allen. He was a project. Okay, fine. So you take Saquon, and then you let him go, and then you draft Jones, and you give him a $50 million a year extension because he was average. Like, I just don't get it. Like, if it works out, fine. But if it doesn't work out, they go after, like, they compound their own problems. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I have no issue with somebody trying something, but if it works, awesome. If not, okay, fine.
Well, I think sometimes for some of these teams, you got to try something. So,
Yeah.
all right, Eric, for the sake of your story, you're claiming that Detroit owes you money. All right, how much money are we talking about?
And what's the money for?
Exactly. We need more information, Eric.
Was this from the National back in the early 90s and you went up there and you got a parking ticket that you never got a refund for the second day? Or, like, what are we talking here?
Well, listen, I think he's trying to hide from the fact that he has put the hex on Detroit. And he's trying to come up with excuses retroactively. Like when he had his brief run there with Cleveland on the podcast, we were all hashtag Wacko for Flacco. We were all over it. We were having a good time with it. It was a good time. Well, Paul, if I wanted to be bitter and petty, Joe Flacco owes me about $100,000, and I can explain how. We have here in our thing in our like provincial lottery. We've got a thing called Pro Line, and you can actually play basically a pool every single week where you could pick all the NFL winners. Generally speaking, you got to go 15-0 or 16-0 depending on the week, but you got to go perfect to win. And if you win, you get a share of the overall prize pool. 1 week, I went 15-1. The only game I lost was Baltimore. And they were playing I don't remember who it was they were playing. I think it was like the Titans. And the Titans that year were trash. Like everybody beat them. But one of the few wins they had was against Baltimore that week. And the payout was like $250,000. So Flacco owes me a crap ton of money. If I wanted to be bitter, Paul, I could put the hex on Joe Flacco for the rest of time. I still enjoyed Wacko for Flacco. It was a good time.
Yeah, our survivor pool was over at the end of the third week because Cincinnati couldn't beat somebody who picks in the top 5. I forget who it was, but it was someone who sucked. I would be bitter if it were $250,000. I would walk up to the casino and be like, "Can I put 20,000 on the money line for the Titans or something?" Like,
there you go. But it was bad. It was one of those things like, oh, like
was it the final one, or was it like, was that the Monday Night Football game, or was it like noon on Sunday game that you lost?
So it was. I think it was one of the later games. I think it was one of the primetime games. It's been a long time now, but I know it was later. Like it was actually doing a run. It's like, yeah, win. It's like, hey, I don't think I missed one here. And I was looking and going like, okay. And then yeah, it was like at the end. I was in there like, and as soon as it was 15-1, I'm like, fuck. Now, once in a blue moon, there has been a case where there was something wacky that happened. Like some game went into the twilight zone, and nobody predicted it, and a 15-1 can win. But it's only once in a blue moon. Like it's got to be a really wacky scenario, because most of the time it's like a lot of the games that you expect will go a certain way. Then occasionally there's one that'll go completely out of line. But for the most part, who knows? It's just kind of weird the way it was. But it was so bad. The one time was like, oh, I just missed the one, and it was Baltimore, and it was Flacco and those guys, and it was just that was the only one I needed. I was like, well, that would have been a nice win. That would have been pretty good. Mortgage would already be paid off. Would have been nice.
Yeah, if it were the final one, I would be like, all right, what's my cash out, or how much can I realistically put on the money line, and be like, all right, how can I
Yeah,
hedge this?
for the hedge. Yeah.
Yeah. 250 grand would piss me off.
It was a lot, man. It was a lot. But that's kind of the perspective. That's why I would say, like, sometimes stuff like that happens, and it's that's why, for better or worse, I don't worry about money most of the time in my life. So it's like, but stuff like that, it's like, oh, that'd be nice, and it was. What? So what would you do with it? Well, I pay off my mortgage. It's really boring, but it would actually make the rest of my life real easy. it,
Yeah.
it offers a lot of options because it's my biggest expense. I remove my biggest expense off the docket. Well, then I can kind of do what I like for the rest of it.
Yeah, I haven't had mortgage since I was 27 or 8. I forget. Paid it off, haven't looked back.
There you go.
And now I can blow my money on fucking men in cardboard photos.
There you go. Look at that.
Shiny ones here too. That's
Yeah.
right. Look at the shine. Woo.
Well, that, even from here, I can see that Bucket would be excited by your Unitas refractor.
I got just like Booby Orr. I got to get him on the right team there.
There you go. Perfect. Nailed it. Mike
like
says, and I got a
screw
note at 3-game parlay for $40. Yeah, the parlays sometimes I've had some wacky parlay. My favorite one though was one that I did as I was trying to make a point to a buddy of mine who's a big soccer fan. I was just fucking with him, and I played in there, and I go, it's like, dude, soccer sucks. No one scores in this shit. Like, and he's like, no. I was like, all right, fine. So what I did is I said, I went in and I did a parlay basically with it, and all I did was I think I picked 6 or 7 soccer games, and all I did was go tie. I just picked 7 ties. I missed by 1 goal in 1 game, and the game was 1-0. It was 0-0. And I was like, if that one more, but because it was all ties, if that last one had gone in, and I literally put like the bare minimum. I put like a $2 wager, but if I had, it would have been like $8,000 for like a $2 wager because it was 7 straight ties. It's like, there's no scoring in this sport. Like, scoring is illegal. Like, I literally just picked 7. I don't even know who these teams are. I just picked 7 ties at random.
I remember a friend of mine, he bet 5 on and he picked every money line, or he picked every spread of every NBA game, and it was like a Sunday, so there were lots of games, and he picked every spread, and he hit it. He turned $5 into like $3,000. It was crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to have a little fun. So that kind of go back to the discussion from earlier. Look, if you're doing like if you're literally doing a parlay that's like ridiculous odds and you're putting a $5 bet in it, it's entertainment value because what's the worst? You lost $5. It's not a big deal in the grand, and you're not expecting it. The odds are against you. You know this. The likelihood is something will go, probably a bunch of the games will go the other way. Something will go wrong. Like, you're not going to win this. But it is entertaining when you get close. When one of those gets close, and you're like, whoa, oh. Johnny, you and Burt Jones, 2 of my favorites. There you go, Mike.
I still think that the craziest bet that I've ever seen, it was like 2007 or 2008. It was Michigan and like the Chad Henne, Mike Hart, Jake Long Michigan team versus the Brady Quinn Irish. And it was like week 2 or 3. The point spread was Notre Dame minus 7 or 8 or something like that.
Right.
And my buddy put money on Michigan minus 28.5. And I went, and he put down like half a semester worth of like tuition on it. It was like $1,000, like $1,300. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And sure as shit, they won like 41-7. I'm like, Well, we're all getting drunk on you tonight. Holy shit. The payout on that was like 40x or something.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And they paid him out, and he got it, and he paid off all his student loans, and we had a fun night.
Nice. That's a good win. That works. Zach says, I sometimes try to convince myself I'd be good at sports gambling, especially teams I really watch closely. So I was going to be careful. I've had good runs. There have been some year because I'll do it in certain windows of time. Traditionally, this year I didn't. Traditionally, the football playoffs is fun for me because this year I've watched these teams and I'm sitting there like, some of these teams are a little wacky. Like some years you get a bit of a feel, a bit of a sense. I'm like, I actually don't like it when I don't feel like I know who the good teams are. Like I'll watch a team that has a great record or they'll put up some great performances, but then I'll look at who they're doing it against and I'll be like, it feels rock, paper, scissors. And when I get a feel of rock, paper, scissors, I'm not super confident because it's like, it's the matchup. It's 100% like if it's this team who's good, but plays this type of team on the other side, it could be their kryptonite. And sometimes that happens. It's not that the team was bad per se. It's just the wrong matchup for them. That isn't who they wanted.
I remember knowing for a fact that the Peyton Manning Colts were going to smash the Saints. And that was the game where I had to look at myself and be like, nope, you're not that smart. The other one is, so I get out of work and get home by like 3 or 3:30, most Monday through Friday. And because there's not a lot on, I'll put on like an old football game and just watch it all the way through, like as I'm kind of doing residual work at home. And one of the games that I like watching is the 95 Broncos and the Jaguars. And the game where the Jags were like 14-point underdogs and they smash them. I'm like, that's one of the games where I'm like, hey, I think this is going to happen, but nope, I'm not putting money on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's nice to see. Well, not for me, but it's nice to see Baltimore making a run at this.
Well, I just wanted to keep it entertaining. So this is an opportunity to at least hear like we're basically hope for the whole weekend. It's been like just give us some decent games.
Yeah,
that's what we're asking for here. If I don't have a specific rooting interest or a specific team I'm rooting against, just give me an entertaining game. That's all I'm asking out of you.
I mean, we have 2.5 minutes left in the fourth, and the game is undecided. That's all I can ask for.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair, Paul. I like Bobby's comment. It's very subtle. Oh, keeping it interesting. See, I don't know, Bobby. Are you trying to start a war with another one? Like you're already, it's you against Atlanta. You want to take on Baltimore too? Bobby's got to figure out all the geographic enemies he's making. I haven't checked in on the Discord yet. Are you back and forth with Dustin yet? I know he was responding a little bit.
I shot him a DM that it was trolling only, and he's like, oh, okay, I didn't get that. I'm like, trolling for the sake of being a troll.
You got to do it for the love of the game, man. Quote the Raven, nevermore. That's right. So I was saying to Brandon though, I was saying to Bobbles that like Baltimore really does need to win this because this year, but having Derrick Henry having a great season, having that combination, having all those things, they need this because the window can close. Derrick Henry, do you expect Derrick Henry next year should be good? Do you expect him to get 1,900 yards?
No.
That's the thing. So sometimes when something works really well, you kind of want to ride while the iron's hot. Like if this is working for you and you've got that great 1-2 punch, you want to take advantage of it before your window closes.
Ironically, that's how I felt about the Deacons, the Dak and Zeke Cowboys the first year. I'm like, if they don't win it this year, I don't see this ever happening again. And sure as shit, it never did.
Well, all the pieces came together. So I remember the year you're talking about. When players have career years or somebody that you don't expect provides you something you're not expecting, and there's no necessarily reason for you to expect that repeat of that performance. Sometimes you just got to ride it. If do whatever you can to try to push it across the line. In baseball, the Blue Jays in 2015 went for it. The general manager was about to get fired, so he just said, "Well, whatever, fuck it." So he just went and made a bunch of trades. He just did everything, threw everything but the kitchen sink at it, and it worked. They got to the ALCS, won the division. They had a very exciting team down the stretch. The momentum was building with the crowds. They were getting into it, and if they had won, that doesn't mean they win the World Series, but I think that team would have had a chance in that matchup. So, but we'll never know. The 2016 team technically got about as far, but they weren't as good. They didn't, but they also had career years and they had free agent like rentals that worked. So when everything's working and you're hitting on all cylinders, you kind of want to ride it as far as you can go because you never know. You're not going to necessarily get another crack at it. Oh, Zach says, if Lamar doesn't do it now, when will he? Stakes are high. That's kind of the thing. I don't necessarily see next year's version of the Ravens being that much better. Like, what are you going to do necessarily? Like, he's played at an MVP caliber level, and he had Derrick Henry playing at the guy almost had 2,000 yards. Saquon got 2,000 yards, but it's not like Derrick Henry was just behind him. It wasn't like it was a 500-yard difference between the two. It was 1,900 and change.
Pretty good. You haven't had many injuries.
Yeah, like this has almost been a pristine. It's not perfect, but this is about as good. Is the best that you could write it up. And KC is trying to do a three-peat, so they are vulnerable. They're not a perfect team either. So like this is your opportunity to give probably your best team against KC if you want to knock them off. So I would be very irritated if the Ravens can't find a way because there's no guarantee that you're going to have an equivalent good team next year. To Paul's point, you can have injuries. Stuff can happen. The Ravens win. Have your chocolate stick, Eric. There you go. I guess Lamar is still young. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the team will necessarily put the pieces together. That's the problem with a lot of these things. It's not just one good player. You could have a good player or a great player who has good years, but what about everybody else?
Henry's getting older. Mark Andrews is really showing his age this year. I don't know if you're going to get what you. I don't know if you get what you got out of Kyle Hamilton this year. Marlon Humphrey he's not old, but he's not young anymore either. And we get a touchdown.
Somewhere in the Bobbles household, if you listen off in the distance, you can hear the Bobbles household screaming. Now they need the 2-point. This one's big for Buffalo. They can stall them on the 2-point. Things get real interesting.
And shout out to Beef. The only piece I feel good about with the Ravens going forward is Creed Humphrey.
Okay.
That's right. We talk centers on the show. Get used to it.
I see. Oh. Oh. Get ready to the Discord machine, Paul. This is your moment. Fire up the Discord machine, Paul. This is your moment.
Oh, here comes the troll.
You knew it was coming. Yeah. But now what's going to happen is now on the Discord, flames, burning Elmo memes. Bring the burning Elmo memes. I hate it when the D changes the way they play at the end of the game. 0 rush on Lamar. It's true. It's true.
So what do you think the odds are that Neo and Bobbles and Andy just don't catch that I'm completely trolling?
All right, now I have no idea. See, they should be listening to the live stream, then they would know. It's their fault. Their problem.
Well,
Can't help
Oh
you.
for 1. Andy didn't get it.
Yep.
0 for 1.
Shame. Shame. Now they got to do the onside. This is what happens, people. We got nothing better to do but to be assholes on the Discord. That's basically all that happens. Every time I bring up the Discord, it's like it's just a bunch of assholes is what it is. Yep, this could be close. Glad you retained some beer. I know. Listen,
Who
Bobby,
said
let me tell you.
27 to 20, or who said 24, 22? You're looking pretty good.
So that was Bobby's. So he's still like it's close. It's within range. Like I'll give him, I'll give him a little bit of room there. Oh, recovered the onside.
Well, Andy figured it out. Andy figured it out. That's good. That should just about end the game because, all right, you go down to 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, I don't see right now. How many
120
timeouts did they have left? How many timeouts did they have left here?
1.
Yeah, that's not enough.
So
you can pretty much just kneel.
Buffalo's going to have to punt the ball with 5 seconds left, or they could 10 seconds minus the plays, and then they have to spot the football also. Why are they running an actual play? Take a knee. What are you doing? Take a knee.
Very greedy. They went for it. Only one timeout for Baltimore. Yeah.
Why are they running the ball?
They like to tempt fate in Buffalo, man. What do you want? Lucky for them, it didn't hurt him this time. So I think now I would take a knee. Now would be a good time.
Well, all right, you have what? 1 minute and 30 seconds? The 2 40-second clocks bring it down to 10 seconds. And then you subtract off the plays. And then you have to respot the football before you start the clock. If you take 3 knees and then you throw it on, you basically have Lamar or Josh Allen roll out and then he throws it in the stands. And that's game. Like, I don't know why they ran the ball there.
Oh, I wasn't kidding. I think in Buffalo's secret, they're like, all right, we better at least put this in danger one more time. Put this in danger. Let's give ourselves one more chance to screw this up. One more shot at glory. Yeah, keep the ball, don't kick it. There you go. Oh, right now you just run out the clock and finish it. You just get this over with and get out of there.
Oh no, fire it in the stands and just, you clock play it the next 3 plays. Make it more exciting.
Yeah. All right, so Ham's asking the right question here. So now that we basically got this result, it's just about a final. I got about 20 seconds left on the clock here looking at this end, but obviously he took a knee. So
yeah,
we're just running out the clock now. So we have now the KC Buffalo rematch. I think that'll be exciting. So I think that's good.
Yeah, fuck Mahomes.
So here's the thing. So I know obviously that's going to be the big thing. So, but do you think
how much
that
do Allen's
means
cards
that
go up?
Yeah. So the question here is: this is the scenario where Buffalo vanquishes the Dragon. They beat the team that they've been trying to beat for a while. They've had some classic games. If this is Allen's time and he's actually able to beat him, so then
I'm gonna say between I don't know 25%, 30%, something like that.
I feel like it would be a decent bump, yeah, because there's going to be some folks that are going to throw it in there trying because we get a gap between the championship games and the Super Bowl, so there is a window to get your stuff out there, to give yourself a chance to move. Because the only thing I wouldn't do is try to sell it like right before game time. Like you basically you would have to sell it right in that run up because then nothing has happened yet. So that's kind of where I would be interested in it. So Eric says, I cannot be blamed for this. I don't know. Paul says, way to go, Eric. Andrews used to have great hands. He did. He did at one point.
Ooh. Well, Bobbles is going to be pissed off, but Bobbles will be happy to see this one also. I think it's been about a year since I've seen one of these get sold.
All right.
That's it? Ah, fuck.
As Bobby says, loving lots of us still loving it, for I am not the man of peace. That is true, Bobby. KC free Super Bowl would be nice, Zach says. Jeez, what a way to lose. True. Zach says, I always blame Eric. Facts. All right, Eric, the game's over. You want to come on here for a couple of minutes of post game? I'm going to hang for a couple of minutes in post game here. We'll have a little fun. I'm going to take the card angle. So now that the game's over, we have our matchups. All right, Paul, I want some predictions. So we know who people want. We know people want the KC free Super Bowl, but who do you think is going to win? What's your Super Bowl matchup?
The guy who comes out of the stanza with a machete and takes out Mahomes' knee. Or he pulls in
the machete would be you want to use a machete to cut off his knee?
No, just a club. Now that I think about it, just a club.
Yeah, I was going to say the machete. It's kind of redundant. It's kind of unnecessary.
It can be like me holding my knee. Why?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So other than pain, what is your prediction? Other than pain, what is your prediction?
What do I think happens? I think the Chiefs win because the refs fuck them over somehow. And in the
Eric,
NFC,
is there any way you could possibly ruin Detroit anymore before the end of the year?
I could start saying that the Red Wings are Stanley Cup bound.
I think you should. I think Billy would literally develop a set whose only purpose would be to slander the Boston Bruins. But he would only focus on the old school Boston Bruins, and he would build a set in the checklist where it would only be Chicago Bobby Orr would be the entire subset.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
That's what I'm getting at. I think you're incurring the wrath of spicy eye is what you're doing. So Eric, how do you feel? How do you feel knowing that?
Let me ask the expert. Mom, what? How did you feel about that game you just watched?
It was a good game, but I wasn't happy. I wanted Lamar to win.
She wanted Lamar to win.
Uh-huh. Well, so did Brandon. It didn't work.
Sorry about that.
So we have a very unhappy Kathy here.
I can see that.
She's not happy.
Kathy, sorry it didn't work out for you, but hopefully you enjoyed watching the game, despite the fact you had to do it with Eric.
Yes, I did. It didn't ruin my birthday.
Today is her birthday. If you remember, we all said happy birthday to her on Friday. But
that is true. Today, happy birthday once again. That's right.
Today is her actual birthday. We had cake and ice cream and presents and party and all that. So we've had a good day.
You could have just said ice cream cake. Bobby would have appreciated it.
Yeah, no ice cream cake. we had vanilla cake, and it was good.
Okay, there you go. So. I like it.
Ham, knock it off.
Just saying.
Ham says he loves you.
Oh, I love you too, Ham.
There you go. Jeff here says, "Look, it's a Dream Crusher." I know. The entire state of Michigan, the city of Detroit, after they're done burning the ruins, Eric, they're coming for you.
Listen, I have been pulling for this team for years. It's not my fault that they keep, flushing themselves down the toilet every year. It's not my fault.
Wait, so you're saying it's not your fault?
No.
Interesting. The video seems to suggest otherwise. Washington, Detroit. Does Detroit burn the ruins? Or do they win another week and burn the ruins?
Detroit's going to the Super Bowl.
A few moments later.
3rd and 10. 4-man rush. It's Goff throwing over the middle, and it's picked off Jeremy Chin. And Washington will be going to the NFC Championship for the first time in 33 years.
The video seems to suggest it is kind of your fault.
That was my hope. My hope was they were going to make it all the way to the Super Bowl and win.
So that we're all clear here, Eric. Just so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I only asked you for your prediction on the one game.
Yeah.
Only one person on the entire panel decided Detroit's going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Uttered these words.
Yeah.
And then like immediate turnaround horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you did this 2 years in a row. I remember a man who came on
last
at
year.
halftime.
I was on drugs.
What's your excuse this year?
High from the cake.
I was excited about cake. Yeah, but last year I was literally on drugs. You can't blame me for that. I was on pain pills.
I 100% blame you for.
No, I was on pain pills last year. You can't blame me for that.
Interesting. I see. Paul, I got to be honest. It's I think that there is a cottage industry that could be built on fading Eric's picks, fading him real hard.
Like betting on Detroit.
I was gonna say, tough road for the Ravens. It would have had to beat Buffalo, the Chiefs, and probably the Eagles. Yeah, possible. It's one scenario. It's a possibility. With the final four, who would you like to win? I would want Buffalo. Okay, that's a valid question. So, okay, we can do the prediction of who you think's gonna win, but with what's left, I don't think they're gonna get to the Super Bowl. Although, imagine if the Super Bowl was the Commies in Buffalo. One of you has to win. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. That's my rooting agenda.
Mm-hmm. Name says happy birthday, Kathy. Thank you.
Nobody cares that name says happy birthday. Mom, do you care that name said happy birthday?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mom.
You didn't hear that, did you?
Oh, yes, we did.
Ah, crap.
Josh here says, why isn't Eric in his rolling van in Manila? I know. It's very strange.
I got a reprieve to spend time with my mother on her birthday. I have to be sent back immediately after.
Yep. Zach here says a valid point. How are we supposed to know when we're supposed to know when Eric is under the influence of something? That's right. That's true. So my pick would be the Commies would be hilarious. That'd be hilarious. But yes. I would be in the same vein. Look, like I said, out of the teams that remain, I have zero qualms with Buffalo. I would have no problem with that. I think the one that most people want to not be involved is KC. That would be like the bottom of the power rankings. Buffalo, I'd be good with. I think at this point they've had enough bad stuff going on with them anyway. I'd be okay with them having one. Paul, I don't know. What would your preference be? You can pick any of the final four. What would your preference be for the win?
Anyone but the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Anyone but the Eagles. Everything else is fine.
Yeah. So the Commies or Buffalo are fine with you. Fair.
One of the teams steals the war chant, and they do it inferior. So, screw that team.
Screw that team. All right.
So I don't know. Chat, you guys can let me know. I think I'm kind of in that. That's kind of where my head's at. Buffalo is the least objectionable one to me, followed by the Commies, just because again it'd be funny, and then the rest of it I'm less interested as we go there. Philadelphia, not so much, and the Kansas City, it'd be kind of boring. The only thing I will say this, obviously most people root against Kansas City because they kind of earned that. The Kansas City folks are a little bit insufferable, but there is one thing that would be kind of funny though. I got to be honest. If they did win, a lot of people would be pissed off, which would be funny. But what would also be funny is then the Mahomes is the GOAT over Brady conversation because he's the only one who's won 3 in a row. Brady tried. They weren't able to do it. I think he had 2 shots at it. Didn't he have 2 where he won 2 in a row? There was the one early in his career where they won 2 in a row. And then I think later in his career, I think they had 2 in a row one other time, if I'm not mistaken.
Don't
I have to
remember.
think about that one. Yeah, I know early in his career they definitely won 2 in a row. I think they did it again later in his career as well in that second half. The Argos would cook all those teams. Oh, Eric's all about the CFL.
Yeah, I'm all about the Argos. I actually have been to an Argos game, so
He only did it.
I guess that means I'm an Argos fan.
He only did it once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
in the later one, they never went back to back on any of those.
Correct.
Okay.
02, 04, 05.
Oh, okay.
It was 3 out of 4.
Yeah, it was 3 out of 4.
So growing up when in the time period I did, Washington was really good. I remember when
growing
Doug
up
Williams,
in the time you did, you're talking about George Washington, right?
right? I remember seeing Doug Williams win the Super Bowl. That was awesome. And I saw, Buffalo attempt to win the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. So
4. It was 4.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's crazy. 4 is just insane. So I would love to see Buffalo and Washington in a Super Bowl. That I just would absolutely love that. So that's what I'm rooting for. So therefore, it won't happen. So you can pretty much guarantee Philadelphia and KC now.
I was about to say, if you were going to use your hex powers, you could have just picked KC, and then a lot of people would be happy with your hexing.
Yeah, I see that comment. Yeah, from day one. I am so sick and tired of this guy ending every sentence on Instagram with, I've been a fan since day one. No, you haven't. The Bills showed up in the league in the 1960s or something. You weren't born yet.
They came from the AFL. Yeah.
Okay. You weren't born yet. You were not a fan since day one. Every time this guy ends the sentence on Instagram, it's been a fan since day one.
Well, are you a Boston Bruins fan since day one?
No, I was not born in 1924.
Are you sure?
Sure wasn't.
Mom, was I born in 1924?
No.
I'm sure.
Okay.
She said no.
Yeah, okay.
right.
It was 1824, right?
Was it 1824?
No, I'm not that old.
No. She's not that old, she said.
I'm older
Oh,
now.
you could always go with Carlos Sr.'s angle. He's been telling me for years that I'm older than he is now. So this whole time space thing doesn't seem to be an issue. You can just roll with it. Just saying.
Yeah. No, Ham, you're wrong too, because nobody on their first day of life is a fan of a sports team. They're like a fan of air. That's really about it.
I don't know. I like to think that on the first day of your life, you thought air was overrated.
I don't know. Food, man. It's all about food.
No, I think you're getting used to breathing actual air rather than off an umbilical cord. I think you like air into my lungs. This is interesting. I don't.
You're
think
talking about being a fan, though. You're not talking about just accepting it. You might be a little ambiguous on it. You might not be.
I don't think anyone's a fan of any team on day one. So, again, I like to point out that Name's an idiot, and I hate him.
Stop picking on Nate.
I'm not gonna stop picking on Name. I don't like him.
Leave him alone.
No.
Wow. Arguing with his mom, Paul. This is terrible. Just terrible.
Don't give him a brownie tonight.
Yep.
We have cake. We don't have brownies tonight. It's cake.
Mike says, I can still remember the
Okay,
3 and
for you.
13 seasons. Yep. Mike says, I can still remember the 3 and 13 seasons, the QB running back combo of Joe Ferguson and Joe Cribbs. I was put into an Oilers onesie when I came out of the womb. Name claims.
Name says, I was put into an Oilers onesie when I came out of the womb.
He was put into what?
An Oilers, Edmonton Oiler hockey team. Onesie.
Yes.
When he came out of the womb.
Hockey. I don't know, Eric. Is there any other team you'd like to jinx? Obviously, we talked about the one you say, right now you got a chance. This is it. So who's winning it now? Still Detroit?
I'm going to change that, I think. I may change that pick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Can you put a hex on the Buckeyes
I was
tomorrow?
gonna say you could go with the national champion one.
Yeah, one of the things I've talked about in the past over the years is that in New England, Nobody cares about college sports. So even if there's a way to break down, like, who's watching the game tomorrow night, you'll see that New England's got no interest. No one ever talks about college sports. Nobody follows college sports in all of New England. The only time anyone cares is if, like, UConn women's basketball's in the final. Nobody cares about college sports up here. So I won't be watching the game. I don't care who wins. Nothing. I don't care. I barely acknowledge that there's a national championship game tomorrow night. I'll guarantee you this. The last time my mother cared about college sports, and I will turn and ask her, I guarantee you the last time she cared about any college sports was 1984 at the Orange Bowl, Doug Flutie versus Miami. Mom, when was the last time you cared about college sports?
Did I hear that then?
Yes, you cared a lot back then.
Oh, okay. I guess. I don't
Wow.
know even then.
Eric giving hashtag lies.
She cared because I was up watching the game with her and my dad. And yeah, Doug Flutie was a big deal back then around here.
Yeah.
And everybody watched BC games back in the mid 80s. So that was the last time anybody cared about college sports in New England. Unless the UConn women are in the finals. And then half the people care.
It's amazing how much disrespect that Matt Ryan gets out of that. Sure.
Nobody even knows Matt Ryan went to BC. You'd have to be a super sports freak to even know that. Nobody cares.
Ranked second in the country.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Still, nobody cares.
Well, you got to remember, Eric's talking about it. Eric's talking about a heritage where, again, Boston Bruins. Like, are you guys even watching sport? And Eric talks about his cyclocross when we all know the real cyclocross is where they're chasing each other on bicycles, swinging sharp crosses at each other. It's a blood sport for the new age. And then you show me what you think cyclocross is, and it's trash. What do you have to say for yourself?
Mom and I enjoy watching cyclocross, and we'll have to watch tomorrow because they raced this morning. And tomorrow when I'm done shoveling, maybe tomorrow afternoon, we'll watch the races from this morning.
Mm-hmm. Josh is making a valid question.
Do you really think she cared? They think you cared about college sports when I was playing college soccer.
That's what you were going to say. That's the last time I remember
No.
having anything to do with college.
Yes, the last time you had anything to do with college sports, but you didn't care.
Then why did I go?
Guilt.
Wow.
So, and then Jeff says college hockey is big here. The only time college hockey is big is during the Bean Pot tournament. That's it. The Bean Pot tournament is the only thing we care about.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn on whether I should accept Eric's assessment as the proper representation of the average Massachusettsian. I don't know if that's
New Englander. No, this is all of New England. And then
even that corner with Uncle Joe, even that part. The one with the lazy eye. Are you sure?
No, that's Connecticut. We don't pay attention to Connecticut. They're stupid. They're New York adjacent. We don't care about them. But names like, what about UMass in '96? Yeah, that was great. Go to UMass Amherst and go look for that banner. Guess what you'll find? That Final Four banner is not there. Do you know why?
Does it have to do with the packages of chocolate sticks left as evidence?
Is that because
and someone may have taken it?
Was that because they forfeited because Coach C took money?
Marcus Camby was disqualified years later because I believe it's because he took money. So there is no Final Four banner at UMass Amherst because that was taken away. So name.
You could have just asked Marcus Camby to buy him another banner. He got money. With money, you can buy another banner.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Fools.
But
What are you
officially,
thinking?
and they may have put one up, but officially the NCAA took it away. See, look how dumb he is. Read that sentence and tell me what that means. That's just English. Like they don't speak English in Canada now?
Wait, but you're saying the sentence is English. Don't they speak English in Massachusetts?
No, we speak Bostonians, completely
I was
different.
going to say, are you sure? Should we be talking about cars?
Yeah. John Calipari was a legitimate coach, and so was Camby.
Was a legitimate coach.
Yeah. So this says that Camby was a legitimate coach also.
He might have been. How do you know he wasn't? There's no references on timeline here. He could have been coaching his kids last week.
Don't defend him.
I am reading English correctly.
No. Do not defend him.
Speaking of legitimate, are you working tomorrow, Eric? I might have to have you look at something for me.
I am not working tomorrow. I will be shoveling. We are getting a major snowstorm at the moment. It's going to go all night. And I will be spending 2 to 3 hours dealing with that mess tomorrow. So I am not going into work. I have to kind of take it slow and everything because of my back. I can't be whipping through it like I used to.
Gotcha.
Or Eric, you could
Mom
be
won't
out
help.
there. Eric, or you could be out there like a real man, hanging out with a snowplow and just plow all night so that by morning it's already been done.
I don't have a snowplow. I have a snow
then
blower.
Maybe you could build a snowplow. You've got enough time all night so that you can have a plow by morning.
Could I be called Mr. Plow, like Homer Simpson?
Only if that's your name.
Jacket.
I want to be Mr. Plow.
There's a joke there about Mr. Plow and Emmanuel in space, if you want.
No.
There are several jokes. I just want to let you know that you brought this up yourself. More to come on Friday on this matter. But thank you for bringing it up because now I have ideas.
Wonderful.
Are you glad with yourself? You brought up ideas.
No.
I don't know what to tell you. All right, Eric. So this is your last chance. Who are you jinxing for? Who are you jinxing in the AFC and NFC championship? Let's go. Make some picks and be wrong. Go.
Yeah. Well, I already told you what I want.
Yeah, but now I want to know your picks so that when you're wrong, I can make more footage and make fun of you.
My picks are KC and Philadelphia, but I don't want that.
The commies in Buffalo it is. Let's go. Mike, who says, put your snowplow in front of your mountain bike and we can get some extra. Yes. Mike's got this. Look, I bet you're complaining about your back, but I bet if you went out there in your spandex like a dumbass, I bet you could bike around there. And if you bike fast enough in your little spandex, you could do that in circles. You could take the snow down, just press it down.
I do have a fat bike, so I could put
as opposed to a thin bike.
Yeah, like a road bike is very thin. Then I have a fat bike, and that is made to ride in the snow, and I could put a plow on that.
Sounds like we have solved your problem. So get to work.
All right, I'll do that.
Yep. No, sorry, he already did it, Mike. It's over. Commies and bills. It's over, man. It's over, man.
Yeah, that's what I want, but I don't. I have to pick opposite of what I want.
Mm-hmm. All right, Paul. Same question. What do you got?
What I think happens is that the Chiefs and the Eagles they play, but God, I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think there are any winners there. Only Andy would be happy in that scenario. And then his team has a chance.
And then we'll have to deal with Taylor Swift some more.
Well, and Caitlin Clark.
And Clark now.
Yes.
So if Kansas City loses, we're all done with Taylor Swift.
That's what we're all hoping for.
That's all I'm saying. Listen.
And some of those calls today that were so overly pro Kansas City, I mean, that it's just ridiculous. I know they want to promote, Mahomes and Kansas City and Taylor Swift, and I know that for the NFL, it's best that they get to the Super Bowl again and try for a three-peat, and the ratings will be high because people are either going to love them or hate watch them, and that's what they want. But it was so obvious today that
I'm sorry, when was it obvious?
The times that like Troy Aikman was screaming, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!"
Oh, was that today?
Yeah.
I thought it was yesterday.
Well, I've had a lot of concussions.
So what happens tomorrow?
If I'm lucky enough to wake up, I shovel in snow, and then the Patriots play for the division championship.
TMZ and popcorn. What if the Commanders take the whole thing? Listen, comics would still be funny. We can accept that. That'd be all right. Like I said, my preference would be I'm okay with the Bills win. But like Paul outlined, for most of us, Bills or commies would be fine. Because then we still get to have fun, and on the Discord we still get the shit talk.
Yeah.
So right now, as far as I can tell, I could be mistaken. As far as I can tell, I don't think there are any specific Bills fans in the Discord or any Commanders fans in the Discord. So both of those options would be the neutral one where we can still shit talk everybody else because everyone else has failed. And that's the best way. Really, if everyone else has failed, then the shit talking happens either way. It's neutral shit talking. That's the neutral matchup. We can still have preferences, but you can't claim you were a Commanders fan since day one, except Eric maybe.
Oh, I wouldn't say I was a Washington fan since day one, but I've been a Washington fan since the 1980s.
Mm-hmm. Joe Theismann.
Yeah, Theismann was good right up until his leg went backwards when LT hit him. That was kind of a bad day.
And he changed his last name.
Go ahead.
Do you know he changed his last name?
Joe Theismann to Joe.
It was actually it's actually pronounced Theismann, but because he was in the Heisman running, he's like, yeah, pronounce it Theismann.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a joke about his leg breaking or something. So I was waiting for the punchline. All right. So that was actual trivia. All right.
Yeah, he pronounced it Theismann before he was a senior in college.
I did not know that.
Now you know. So we got our predictions. We've taken care of that with the chat. So I'll tell you what, we'll wind her down on that. So now at least the game was good. The game was good. Back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the Monday recording for the podcast episode. A despondent, sad Brandon Bobbles and Ball Cards will be there to help us break down the unfortunateness.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad.
Eric will be there as a bastion of compassion, no doubt. No doubt. Good to be Philly Joe. Bobby Burrell says, had so much fun. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate you. And we'll chat on Friday. So on Friday, we'll chat a little bit more because Bobby did go to the second day of the CSC. We can talk a little bit about it. We'll expand on the CSC thing here.
Did he wear his Sailor Moon costume?
Listen, we're going to find out. There might be pictures. There might be video. There might not.
All right.
But I'm saying if there's going to be,
right.
probably Friday is your best bet. And Cardinals, didn't Joe return punch for the Argo? He did return puns or punts? I'll have to try 3 different times. So regardless, he did play for the Argos as well. Yes. So that was part of it. And again, Eric is an Argos fan since day one, too.
Since 1999 when I went to the game.
Oh, the Argos go back to the 1800s, Eric.
I know, but I saw them in 1999.
And 1949.
He did, yeah.
Possibly.
Well, I don't know if it was 49, but Toronto did probably, the Argos may have played another great, all-time great Toronto team, the Toronto Balmy Beach.
The Toronto what? I didn't hear that.
Balmy Beach.
Oh, okay.
See, you got to understand, Eric, you always complain about the Rough Riders and the Rough Riders.
Yes.
Did you know there was a Toronto Balmy Beach, though?
No.
That was a real team. The Toronto Balmy Beach Beachers.
That's ridiculous.
And that team existed from 1924, same year as another fake trash franchise, until 1957. That is a fact. And they won the Grey Cup twice.
The Balmy Beachers won it twice.
The Toronto Balmy Beachers.
That's lovely.
Yes. They won the Grey Cup in 1927 and in 1930.
I can only
Two-time Grey
imagine
Cup
what their
champions,
uniforms look
the
like.
Toronto Balmy Beachers.
Is that a
Couldn't root for
city?
that team, Aaron.
Is there like a Balmy Beach?
Toronto's a city. They were based out of
No,
Toronto.
but is there like a Balmy Beach as an outskirt or something? Is there an actual city by that name somewhere, or where did they come up with this ridiculous name?
So basically, they were kind of a collegiate team. You got to remember the Grey Cup. The CFL didn't start until the 50s. The Grey Cup was originally, it came off the rugby. Because they stayed very close to the rugby roots, you had teams that were involved in it. So here you go. Bobby says here, Balmy Beach had many teams: hockey, football, baseball, etc. Yeah, a couple
Crazy.
different ones.
I'll have to do some research on this. I need to know more now.
Yeah, you can be a Balmy Beach super fan.
I may have to be.
Thanks, guys. Not you, Eric, though. You've been a bully all night. I know.
Did you hear that?
It's all good.
Name says I've been a bully all night.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, to him, yeah, that's true. That's true. I have been to him, yeah.
Yep.
Stop it.
Mike here says they changed the name Eskimos to Elks for the same reason they changed Redskins to Commanders. Basically, yes. Because Eric thought it was mean.
Yeah.
Bobby says down by the lake, east side of Toronto. Yeah. But they were in the Toronto area. So to make a long story short, they were kind of a collegiate team. They had a bunch of them. It was announced they would merge. So actually in 1948, it was announced they would merge with the Toronto Indians, and the name would be the Toronto Beaches Indians.
Yeah, I got to do some more research on this stuff. Oh, my good God.
Listen, man, you can find out all about the Toronto Balmy Beach. The fact that Toronto Balmy Beach exists, Paul, is one of the reasons why I'm not a CFL fan. I don't enjoy the CFL, but I love the fact that there was a team at one point that won a national championship that was called the Toronto Balmy Beach. The Toronto Balmy Beach Beachers, if you want to be more specific. That is such a stupid name. That is such a dumb name. It's overly elaborate, overly complicated for no reason. And somebody thought it was a good idea.
I just like that the CFL is on Friday and Saturday when basically nothing else in sports is on. Hockey's
Well, that was
over.
one of the smart. That was one of the smart things they did. I like making fun of it, but I've been to more than my fair share of CFL games. But the reality is that it's okay for what it is. And if you're not paying a lot for the ticket, it's a decent night out. You can go hang out, have fun with it. But it's like, it's not meant to be this crazy thing. I've watched the playoffs. I've been to the Grey Cup. It can be a really good event. Like some of the Grey Cup parties are wild. Like you can have a lot of fun at a Grey Cup party. I've enjoyed some of those in the past. But it just
Ain't
depends.
no party like a Grey Cup party.
Dude, listen, Eric, we take you to the right plate. We take you to the right spot. Those people are crazy.
I bet. You'd
Give me
have
quite
to
a
be
time.
crazy.
Listen, could be worse, man. Imagine spending your entire life rooting on a team of Boston Bruins, and not a single bear comes on the ice to attack anyone. I bet you've never had a bear maul anyone at center ice.
Not that I recall.
See, you suck.
There was, and you can look this up, at one point back, I don't even, maybe the 20s or something. There was a circus performing at the Boston Garden, the original Boston Garden, and a monkey got loose and disappeared. And for years and years and years, there was this lore about this monkey and, all this stuff. When they were tearing the garden down, they found the bones of the monkey stuck in a wall. It got itself stuck trying to find a way out of the building and got stuck in a wall and then ended up dying. And they found this monkey's bones during when they were tearing the building down. And
This
it's
is
been
what
there for
causes
like
Eric to giggle.
75
A
years.
dead monkey stuck in a wall.
Dead monkey stuck in a wall, Boston Garden. It's a real thing. And they monkey had been dead in the wall for like 75 years or something. It's
You would
crazy.
think there would be. Do you think there would have been, Paul? You think at that point there would have been some kind of bacteria and infestation or something?
Yeah,
that would have
right.
Been like,
There might be a
lead
smell.
us to the dead monkey carcass in the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah. No,
Somebody
it was there for a long
smells it.
time. You can look this up, dead monkey in Boston Garden Wall. You can Google that. There's a whole story on it. Yeah.
There are more jokes there. We'll
Yeah,
get
oh
back to
yeah,
that.
but it's a real thing. So no, I'm not aware of a bear mauling anyone at center ice, but I do know of a dead monkey.
You know, you guys could have you could have done a mechanical bear. Like, Paul, do you remember like when they do the monster truck rally commercials, they would have that electronic dinosaur that eats cars?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I forget the name of it. What was the name of the dinosaur that ate the cars?
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I
I
don't
have no
remember the
idea.
name of it.
Yeah, so regardless, why don't you get an animatronic bear and have the electronic bear maul people?
I'll look into that. Next time I'm talking to the upper brass of the Boston Bruins, I'll let them know.
I'm trying to make your Boston Bruins games more entertaining.
Yeah.
We don't have Joe Thornton anymore, the greatest living or dead Boston Bruin of all time.
Shut
We
up.
don't have him anymore. So I'm trying to give you something. People getting mauled at center ice by a robotic bear might be kind of fun. Fun for the whole family. Anyway, all right, that's it. So hopefully you enjoyed Eric's bad predictions. Good luck to the commies and the Bills in the Super Bowl, thanks to what Eric has done. And sucks to be you, Philadelphia and Kansas City, because again, Eric has screwed you. And to Detroit, Eric would apologize, but he thinks he can fight you all. So at some point, we will get him down to Detroit, where you can all say thank you to him. for
Detroit
screwing you
owes
over
me
2
money.
consecutive years. It's like $10, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the principle.
Interesting. Well, that's it for us this time around. Thank you for joining on this watch along. Good game to finish off this week of playoffs. So now we'll wait. Conference championship games the next week. I'll pick one of them. I'll see. So I don't know, Paul, if you were going to pick one, which one would be the appropriate watch along one for the conference championships? Rooting against Kansas City people, rooting against, or hoping or watching Andy possibly descend into madness if the NFC one doesn't work the way it goes and it becomes all commies?
I think the AFC one's a better game.
I would agree. It's a better game.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, good night to everybody. Have yourselves a good one. Back on the podcast episode, drop on Tuesday, and then the Friday live stream like normal. Eric has a lot to atone for. We'll make fun of him, and we'll charge for the like button as always. Have yourselves a good one. We'll catch you in the next one.